And we are back with another outstanding episode of the Square Table Degenerates. Today we welcome to the show former MLB pitcher Mr. Kip Gross. How you doing? Is it Gross or Gross? How you doing today?
Gross. Oh, so totally.
Gross. Love it, love it. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing good. Just got back from urgent care.
Oh, okay. You or another family member?
Me.
Okay, okay. Everything good?
Yeah, it's all good. I got my shoulder's all messed up from all the years playing and doing things. So I went and got a cortisone shot.
Okay, where you calling from today? You in Arizona or where you at?
I am in Running Springs, California right now.
Running Springs. Never heard. Is that
About
southern or
about
north?
30 minutes from Big Bear.
Big Bear. Okay. Cool. What brought you out to California? Did you just the weather opportunities? Why are you living out there now?
No, I'm not living here. I lived in California, Southern Cal for 26 years, but my girlfriend lives in Newport Beach, so I'm going to see her tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I've been living in Arizona for 6 years.
We're Tempe, Phoenix, whereabouts?
Fountain Hills.
Fountain Hills. Okay. I was
That's
in
just a little northeast of Scottsdale.
Okay. I was in Phoenix itself for a little bit back in '06, '07. But I was like
Right.
right outside of there's a golf course there, right?
There's a
It's right
ton of
outside
them
of
there.
if you know where the A's play their spring training games at, right there in Tempe, it's like I was like 2 blocks away from that. It was right down the street.
That's 20 minutes from my house.
Oh, okay, cool. So we know a
They
lot
got a
of
nice place now. Their spring training is nicer than their ballpark that they play in.
It was a funny spring training thing, man. Because I like back then I was still in the service then, so I would like train in fitness and all that, and I would like my running route. I would walk. I was so close to where I could literally just run up. I would run up. They had this little thing that would go up like a hand. I don't know if it was like for handicap accessible or whatever, but it was just like a little fenced in walkway, and I would just run up that and then run back down. It takes me
Right.
back. My goodness. All right, so the internet itself tells me you were born in Nebraska. So did you like grow up in the natural, like throwing heat into the barn? So you
I
got
grew
no.
up in western Nebraska. You know what everybody thinks of Nebraska? They think of Lincoln and Omaha. I grew up 425 miles west of that in the Panhandle. Basically, my hometown was 30 miles from Wyoming and 30 miles from Colorado in the Panhandle, and not much doing. And no, I don't think too many people want to move to western Nebraska. Just put it that way. Not a lot going on out there.
It's funny. I don't think Nebraska's one of the like 8 or 9 states I don't think I've ever been to be honest with you.
You don't ever want to go to Nebraska. I mean, unless you want to go to a football game sometime, because the stadium's always packed. It's been sold out for like 400 straight games, something like that. I'm a season ticket holder still to this day.
Okay.
But there's just not a lot. Even Lincoln, if you go to Lincoln and Omaha, as soon as you get out of the town, you run into cornfields. I mean, seriously, dude, beet field, corn, wheat. It's not like suburbs or nothing like that. It's just straight country to the towns or cities you want to call them.
So it was like that's a higher elevation though, and is it mountainous? Did you get snow and all that when you was growing up, or was it like?
Oh, we got tons of snow. That's why I moved. True story of the '96. My then wife, she's passed away now, but we were living in Lincoln because her family was from Lincoln, and I told her, I said, here's what we're going to do. I said, I'll give you two years to hang out with your family, then we're out of here. Because I didn't want to live in Nebraska. I didn't want to do it. And so it was the first year there, had this really cool condo. And I was supposed to go play golf the next day in the morning. So weather was forecast, so it was supposed to be nice. So I got up the next morning. I couldn't even get out of the front door. There was so much snow. I called a buddy of mine, Todd Baker, lives up in Grand Junction, Colorado. I said, Bakes, I said, get your ass down here and come get me. I'm out of here. He goes, what do you mean? I said, I'm going to buy a house. By the time you get here and we get back to California, I'm going to have a house bought already. And no shit, I bought a house sight unseen on a golf course right down the street from here. And I lived there for 10 years. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So I lived in Southern California for 26 years.
Well, people in Ohio and a lot of us are in the north. We can relate right now because it's been a brutal month with the cold. Kip, it's been horrible, man. It's been
yeah.
Oh my goodness. Normally it's not this bad. Like people are always freaking out, like, oh, I gotta move to Florida. I'm like, you've been here your whole life. It's not. The winters aren't usually this bad in Ohio, but this year, just man, the lake's froze and it's been a pistol, man. It's a little warmer today, but it's still hasn't been over freezing in probably a month now. It's been
That's
crazy.
not fun. That's not fun. I just don't like the cold. I just don't. If I want to go skiing or something, I'll get on an airplane and go.
Oh, for sure, for
Spend
sure.
my 3-4 days there and get the hell out.
All right, we got a question from Thomas calling in from Ireland. He says, "Do you think baseball players could play rugby?"
You know what? That's a great question. I say probably not. And the reason I say that is, when I was going to school in Lincoln, Nebraska, I was a frat guy. I was at Sigma Chi fraternity, and right behind our house was a football field, and they played rugby there every Sunday morning. And I tell you right now, I couldn't believe how these guys beat themselves up and beat each other up without any pads. And that's why I've always said, the NFL, if you want to take away all these injuries, take the helmets off. I think you'd have so many fewer injuries just like that by taking the helmets off, because man, those guys don't get hurt,
Oh yeah,
and
well,
they're pounding on each other.
oh yeah. If you hit, well, I debate this a lot with my UK buddies and all that because, like, I mean, I play football. I mean, I never played like organized rugby, but I've seen it, and like when you're hitting with pads, you just hit so much harder, and it's like, if I'm running at you full force and with my regular body and there's no pads, I'm not going to hit you nearly as hard. I mean, I'm still going to hit you, but it'll be more of a, probably shoulder into your gut kind of thing. It's not going to be a helmet into your ribs or a helmet into your arm or wherever it is with football. So it's maybe a good contest though. They need to take like the speed and running ability of like how much they cross. You've seen that done with like the skull and a coconut. And say, oh, this guy's fist can hit a coconut and that can break a skull. They should do that with rugby too. It'd be fun, man.
It was incredible watching these guys out there every Sunday just beating each other up. Though I just don't. I mean, sports like that, you got to have a little crazy screw loose up top, I think, to get in those games. I probably would have done it had I knew about it growing up, but we didn't have anything like that. We didn't have hockey or anything growing up in Western Nebraska.
Sigma Chi, that takes me back because I wasn't in a fraternity, but I remember back when I was at Kent, I was a little older and I was like trying to get a fraternity because I was just a drunk bastard and I would just walk around. And I remember once they let me into the Sigma Chi house and let me drink some beers with them for a little bit, but they didn't want me because I was just way too drunk. I was 25 too. I mean, who the fuck wants a 25-year-old,
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
fraternity? But
It was fun. It was a good thing for me coming where I came from, because I needed a little structure, because I wanted to just get out of the house. And if I didn't have Sigma Chi, I probably would have either flunked out or died my first year. I'm serious. I all I wanted to do was just party and drink, and that was it. And so it was I had to get grades. I had to do all that stuff to stay with them. So I started, so I finished it.
perfect. So, like, when you was growing up, what was it? Was your house like a stereotypical ranch, a farm? Like, what kind of stuff did you
No,
do?
no. I grew up in Gearing, Nebraska, which it was right next to Scottsbluff, Nebraska. They actually call it the Twin Cities of Nebraska, and the reason they do that is because there's nothing else in Western Nebraska. So if you go on a map, an actual United States map, you'll see Gearing and Scottsbluff in the Panhandle. And Gearing, when I was growing up, was only 3,000 people, which was actually a pretty big town in Nebraska, believe it or not. Yeah. So no, I mean, farms everywhere, obviously, but I lived in the town and lived in 17th Street, and we just had to make our own fun back then. It was just everything snow. I basically started working for myself when I was 9 years old. I'd go out and scoop snow and mow lawns and do whatever I could to make money. So I used to, middle of the night, I'd knock on doors. Hey, I want your snow thrown off your sidewalk or scooped. And some of would pay you like $3, some would give you a couple dollars, whatever. But I just needed money back then.
Oh, I did a paper route, man. From time I was about 10 till about high school, I did a paper route. And that he was talking about structure and discipline. I'm the same way. I'm a huge party. I like the chaos. I like the party, man. And when I was younger, that helped me at least, with the paper route, the structure, because I had to get up 365 days a year in Ohio weather. They didn't have no off days for that. So every day at 5 or 6, whatever, I had to get up and put the little rubber bands on and pull my little wagon and toss newspapers. That sure, that sure as shit gets you ready for one, getting up early, and two, adulthood with structure and all that. Because I mean, the way I partied, the service helped a lot too. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, but man, Would have been out of control, right? My goodness. Imagine like a life kit, but there's no structure and you didn't get that and you're just partying and who knows where we would have been at that, right? Right? My goodness.
Yeah, who knows?
All right. So
Who
like
knows?
what stuff did you do back then that you think, kids today just either can't do or refuse to do?
Oh my God. I've told my son, he's 25 years old now. I can't tell how many times I've told him I failed him as a parent. Just the stuff that he has no clue how to do at all. I'll tell you a quick story. When I was 12 years old, okay, my dad and my two brothers got in this horrendous wreck. My oldest brother's been in a wheelchair ever since he was 16 years old. They all came out with broken hips. My oldest brother doesn't remember 2 years of his life.
Oh,
And the reason I'm bringing this up is when that happened, we got the phone call that we needed to get to the hospital. And my mom and I couldn't drive the hospital because I had my parents' four-door Ford LTD up on blocks because my job that day was to rotate the tires on my dad and mom's car. I was 12 years old. The truth, that's 100% true story. Just luckily, my uncle was right across the street. He was a carpet layer. He gave us a ride to the hospital, and it was. But yeah, I'll never forget that day for two reasons: that the wreck happened, and that I was 12 years old rotating tires on a Ford LTD four
that's a
door.
that's a hog of a car too. I had
Oh,
one
it
of
was a
those.
huge hog. I mean, it was crazy. And back seats were huge. Everything was huge. But I mean, kids don't even know what rotating tires means in this day and age. And it's just, it just the stuff that my son, for years I was married for 23 years to my late wife, and I'd do projects here and there, whatever. And I can't tell you how many times she'd say, Kip, how'd you learn how to do that? And I say, I didn't. I just figured it out. I wasn't taught any of this. You just got to get in it and start doing it. And that's what today's people, they just don't do that. But growing up in Western Nebraska, we had to learn to do everything. I don't think I've had my oil changed by anybody else but myself for probably, geez, oh my God, probably in the or late 80s when I was driving to Florida. I needed to stop down there to get it changed. I didn't want to do it myself, but just stuff like that. You have to learn to do yourself, or else you're going to get behind the pay grade there.
I know how to change oil, but like I'm lazy, and so I'm like kind of the opposite of you. When you say you tell your son I feel the same way. I got a little secret, man. I never tell my kids how to ride bikes, and they're like 15 to 16 right now. So I'm like, I'm in the same boat. I'm in the same boat a little bit, but it's like I don't see kids riding bikes anymore. I don't. I mean,
They're all electric. Everything's electric now.
right. My goodness. I mean, back in the day, we just go outside. We had our friends right there. We played with the neighborhood kids. Now, if we got play dates and I got to drive 15 minutes or I got to take them to the mall or something, it's just,
Yeah.
it's not us. It's just a different world with the technology. And I think a lot of it is the people are just too afraid. Like they let the most minute fears get to them. And that's just the way they run their life. Like I know people like being afraid of abductions and shit like that, but I mean, like it's not that common to where I'm going to worry about it. You know what I mean? Not that kids don't get
Yeah.
abducted. Does that make sense? Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
we were so afraid to do things and let our kids fail. A lot of it's just letting them fail. I mean,
Oh, I love letting my kids fail. That was one of the things I used to tell people all the time. I said, I love seeing my kids fail. And they're like, why would you do that? I said, they're going to learn from it. That's how you learn in life is you got to fail sometimes. And you can't be afraid of failure at all. You got to embrace it. And you know, the thing that you can't do is quit. That's the problem. You can fail, but don't quit.
exactly.
And
Learn
and
from your
that's what
mistakes.
I've always done. I mean, I can't tell how many times I've failed and had to do something two or three different times to get it right. But hey, once you get it right, the satisfaction's there and you go with it. But you're just talking about rides and stuff to school. The only year I ever got a ride to school was my kindergarten year, and that was because we went half a day. And my mom or my grandma used to pick me up. Other than that, we had to walk and ride bikes every time to go to school. Every time. I take that back. When I was 14 years old, I got a driver's permit because I lived more than a mile from the school. I actually went to a country school one year. We had a total of 7 kids in our class, and that was seventh and eighth grade combined.
Oh, jeez, man.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm trying to think how
I
many I
could
had.
probably name the whole class right now.
I'm more. Are you? This is a random question, but are you more friends with kids you went to grade school with or high school with, or were they pretty much all the same kids?
I'm probably not friends with any of them hardly at all anymore. I mean, I know them. We had, but most of my friends came from either college or baseball for
Okay.
sure.
Okay.
Yeah, very, very few. In fact, my best friend in high school, he just passed away this year. He got electrocuted out on his own pond
Jeez.
about a year ago. Yeah.
Man, that's a horrible way to go. Man, do you remember, this is random, but you think, talk about electricity. Do you remember a guy named Bo Diaz used to play for the Indians back in the day?
Yes, I do. Absolutely do. He
Yeah,
was in the American League, but yeah, I remember him.
he had something similar. He was like up on the roof of his house changing a satellite dish, and they either fell or got hit by lightning or something. So horrible, man.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, how old were you when you first got into baseball, and like who were your first inspirations, either like personal relationships or pro athletes, that kind of stuff?
I was 7 years old, and my dad lied for me because you had to be 9 to play in the league, and I was 7, and obviously he thought I could play, so I started 7, and I remember the team Boise. We won the whole thing. My cousin was on the team, and what we did was he was left-handed. He threw pretty decent. We rotated every other inning, first base and pitching, and then just came up the ranks. The thing about me was I never had goals, really true goals. My only thing I wanted to do was win, and I wanted to try to play at the next level. Because you know how you always look up to the older kids, right?
Hmm.
And that's what I always did. I always looked up at those. Like, God, I want to play with those guys. I want to play on that field, and that's all I ever did. I never ever had goals. My only goal when I played professionally, believe it or not, was to be a good teammate. That was it. My only goal was, hey, if I'm a good teammate, and shit's gonna work out for me, and it did.
Oh yeah. Well, teammates, being joking with the people on the bench and stuff. That's what it's all about, isn't it? I mean, like, I was never a ball player, but like, I was in the service. Like, your service mates, you guys on the bench when there's downtime, you just find ways to entertain each other and fuck with each other. That's what it's
Yeah.
all about, man. I mean, what are some things like this is a little sidebar, but like prank wise and teasing people and stuff like that? Was there any people you played with or you yourself, like jokes and fun pranks you can think of that really crack you up even now?
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of things you got to do throughout a season. I mean, that's a long, long ass time a season. And people don't really realize with spring training and the season, you're talking about 7.5 to 8 months out of the season that you're not really with your family. You're with a baseball team, and it's a lot. I mean, You're there from probably 2 in the afternoon till whatever time the game gets over, getting your work in and all that. So sometimes after midnight, and so the little time you do get to see your family. So yeah, there's things like, I mean, mascots. That was a big thing. You always, maybe put some or icy hot or something in the mascot's crotch area. It's just stupid shit like that once in a while. I remember one time I was in AAA and our team sucked. It was with the Dodgers and Albuquerque, and if I remember right, Billy Russell was our manager, and we stunk. And I was one of the older guys, and I was coming back and forth from the big leagues back to AAA, and we were in Portland, Oregon, and I went to everybody on the team. I got something from every guy on the team. I was an idiot for doing it, but I took everything that they had and I took it outside the clubhouse, and it was under a roof. I screwed up bad, but I lit it all on fire. Next thing you know, the sirens are coming on and they're coming to put this thing out. It wasn't big at all, but it was underneath that cover, and so the smoke was kind of puffing
Oh,
out.
coming
It was
out.
it was funny as hell. I put it out as fast as I could, but I got in trouble for that one too. I used to do some stupid stuff just for fun, giggles, whatever, and go out on. I do the upside down man once in a while. I put the uniform on upside down and go out and act. How that all works. And I was always the guy that let's go have some fun with this. Instead of sit, I wasn't the guy that wanted to sit in the clubhouse and play cards all day. To me that was just like God, just redundant. Every road trip, guys are on the plane, they're playing cards. Every bus trip, playing cards. I did it once in a while, but not that often. I'd rather kick back, have a beer, or whatever we were drinking back then, and just enjoy it. And Roger McDowell was my roommate for a while, and all about his antics and what he used to do. The hot foot and stuff like that. And so when I was with the Dodgers, we did some things in spring training. Every day in spring training, Roger and I sat next to each other in the clubhouse, and this is in Vero Beach. And every day we'd pull a prank on somebody. We'd have, the little alarms that they use in training rooms. You set them for a certain time, the alarm goes off. for icing or whatever. And so we'd put a bag or something, and then we'd always put that alarm and set it for sometime during the meeting in the morning with Lasorda. And then every morning, ding, 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 and an alarm would go off, and it'd be in somebody's locker. And everybody was just dreading having that ding in their locker. And so it'd just be random stuff like Tom Candiotti. I remember the one time we put a thing of hair dye in his, because he still dyes his hair to this day black, and he's 100% gray. So just stuff like that, just to slow things down and make things fun for people. Is that Roger right there?
This is Candiotti right here. I bought that.
Oh, Candy man. You know what's funny about Candy? Everybody thought he was a knuckleball pitcher. He was, but he threw more slow curveballs than he did knuckleballs. Oh, yeah. And another thing about Candy is really funny. You know who Pedro Martinez is? Probably one of the biggest pricks alive that ever played baseball, by the way. In spring training that year when Candy came over to the Dodgers, every outing in spring training, Pedro would follow Candiotti on the mound. It was impossible. It was absolutely impossible for any hitter to get anything off of after facing Candiotti, who threw that slow, to now facing Pedro Martinez. I mean, it was comedy. I couldn't stand Pedro Martinez, but at the same time, it was crazy to me. He dominated. The guy could pitch, man. He could just flat out pitch, but he was a prick. He was a prick for a teammate.
Candiotti was man. He was one of my favorites when I first started following the track.
Great guy, man. Great guy.
Oh, man, he would just go the whole game. I remember. I don't know if he might have he had 17 or 18 complete games in one year. I still think that's like the highest in the past 40 years. That guy would just never need the bullpen. Just go out there and just
he threw 60 miles an hour.
That's crazy when you think about it.
Because he threw 70. I don't know what it was. I'm just making a joke, but yeah, he kept throwing that slow curve up there to everybody. Then every once in a while they throw that heater right by you. But that knuckleball. Another story about Candy too. When he came to spring training that year, he actually brought a catcher's mitt. That's when Mike Piazza was the catcher that next year after Scioscia, and Mike didn't want to use the catcher's mitt. I'll tell you this right now, and everybody knows it anyway. But there's a reason why they've always called Mike Piazza the greatest hitting catcher in the history of baseball, because he could hit. He was not a good catcher. He was. I mean, on Sundays, pitchers actually wanted to pitch on Sundays because that was Mike's day off. Because they wanted to throw to the other catcher. It's true. Mike could fucking flat out hit though, man. He was fun. He was fun to watch.
I remember getting him in fantasy. Him and Pudge would always go. They were the only catchers I remember drafted in the first round. Nobody else took catchers in the first round. But man, 99, 2000, those guys are just on fire. I was going to ask you something about. What were we just talking about? Oh, we got a question from the chat. Did you ever get to meet Pete Rose? That's a good one.
You know what? No, I didn't. I was there the next year after spring training, but I will tell you this: it was one of the coolest things I've ever remembered about baseball. Was the first day of spring training. I just got traded from the Mets over to the Reds, and Lou's the new guy there because Pete had his scandal with the gambling and all that stuff. Pete had a quick meeting with everybody. It wasn't really quick. It was actually kind of long, but I'll tell you right now, it was one of the coolest things I ever saw or heard. Was Lou giving Pete tons and tons of credit for the team that was in that clubhouse. And he was like, man, he did great things here. We got a good squad here. We added a few additions, but he said, I give tons and tons of credit to Pete Rose for what he put in this clubhouse. So I'll always respect Lou is my greatest manager I ever had. But at the same time, for him to say something like that about Pete Rose, I thought that was really cool. But no, I didn't get to meet Pete Rose at all. Never did.
Okay. Now you talking about Mike Scioscia. Did you get to meet Scioscia?
I played with Scioscia. He's probably the best baseball mind I've ever been around.
Now, he was on that one episode of The Simpsons when they all played the softball team. Did he ever bring that up?
I never talked to him about that.
Okay.
Never did. He was, the thing about Scioscia, people don't realize, when I was with the Dodgers, Lasorda didn't run the team, Scioscia did. I mean, he'd be sitting on the bench right there, next to your catcher, sitting there. Next thing you know, he'd say, hey, Tommy, tell Amalfitano over there to hit and run right here. Sure as hell, he'd say, hey, Amalfitano, hit and run right here. I mean, Scioscia ran that team when I was there. No question about it.
Is that why it's a lot, like here in Cleveland we got Stephen Vogt? Is that why a lot of catchers make good managers? Is just because they're so used to calling the pitchers games and it's a
Well,
seamless transition?
they don't call the pitcher's game. They suggest to throw, and that's the thing though. You're seeing. I always loved catching. That was my third base, and catching was my first love by far. Pitching wasn't. I just had a good arm, but it was as a catcher, you're seeing everything. You're seeing all the players on the team on the field at all the time, and so you learn and learn and learn really really quick and how things are working out there, what to do, what not to do, tendencies, things like that. Yes, I 100% believe that catchers are probably your best managers by far because they're in every play, regardless of what's going on. Yeah, Soch was the best man. I actually went up to him. It was probably about 10 years ago. My high school team, we won the CIF in California, and so any team that wins, they have a day uh, before an Angels game where all those teams, all 7 teams that win their league, go out on the field. Well, that day I went and saw Socha. Hadn't seen him for a long, long time, and I walked up to him. I said, "Soch, how you doing, man? Everything is good." Hugged it out, the whole thing. And I said, "I just got a question for you. I'm not trying to be little or nothing like that. I'm trying to pump you up here." I asked him. I said, "Don't you think you wasted your talents over here with the Angels for all these years when you should have been in the National League?" He says, "Not only that, because he was brilliant. American League is just, to me, it's just glorified slow pitch softball. That's all it is now, anyway." But Soch he said, "Not only that, Kip," he said, "here's the thing." He said, "They're listening to me right now. I know they are." He says, "When I'm over here, the managing now," he goes, "we don't even make the calls anymore. We don't even get to run the games anymore. They call down to the dugout and tell us what to do." I said, "They're paying you $8 million a year to answer a phone?" He said, "Basically, yes, that's what we're doing. They're paying us that much to sit here and be just a thimble on their thumb and do whatever we ask."
That's
Pretty
amazing.
crazy, huh?
Yeah, I kind of want that job. Right? I'm a Browns fan. They just got Todd Monken, but I was joking. Just make AI a coach. I mean, just put the play into Madden, just ask Madden, just do that. I mean, it can't be any worse than what the Browns been doing, right?
Oh God. Oh, the Browns. You're a Browns fan, huh? Oh, I'm a Raiders fan, so here you go.
Oh yeah, we're in the same bucket, exact same bucket. Sucks since the dawn of time. All right, speaking of catchers, did you ever meet Bob Euchre?
No, I did not. No. Would have loved to met him and have some fun with that guy though. He was just fun to be around. And I know so many guys that were with the Brewers and hung around him and so there's just so many really good personalities in baseball. And I really believe it's a reason because you're playing a sport where you fail so much. And I think it humbles you as a player because if you can't handle failure, I got news for you. Baseball's the wrong fucking sport for you by far. It's not even close because I mean you're going to fail every game. Every game you're going to fail somehow. I don't care if you throw a no hitter or a perfect game. Somehow in that game, somewhere you're going to fail somehow. I mean, you can look back and say, "God, I probably should have thrown this," or it maybe got away with a fastball where they fouled off just foul or something, just stuff like that. So, and that's why I say that baseball, I think people, all the players are for the most part great people because they get humbled and they're not up here with big egos. No, don't get me wrong. There's some egos in baseball. There's some really, really, really big egos. And I've played with a couple and a couple of, or, they're third persons, they call themselves by their own name. And it's, like Ricky Henderson did all that stuff. Now, I never heard a bad word about Ricky, though. I really didn't. I just think he was one of those guys that just grew up and had fun with it. But
Mm-hmm.
I think baseball players are all generally good people overall for that reason.
Oh yeah, I've talked to quite a few baseball players. I think the thing with Kip, why baseball players are so nice is that you got to pay your dues, right? Like, besides, unless you're like Pete Incaviglia or something, you get a contract, or you go right to the majors. You got to start off in buttfuck Egypt or Alaska,
Yep.
or wherever the hell, just to make it. And you really got to grind to make. And another thing, like baseball, you could be Aaron Judge at 6'9", Ichiro at 5'9", you could be John Crook, Jim Rushford, you could be whoever.
Absolutely.
Joe Morris or Jack Morris, go out there, whatever, and come. One day you're working at a pizza shop, the next day you're pitching for the Tampa Bay Devil Rays.
That's why I've always said baseball is not like any other sport. And don't ever, the thing about all these things, they always talk about how you can't, and I agree with it. You can't take today's game of football and compare it to football in 1950. You can't. because the players are completely different players then than they are now. You know, back then, shit, your linemen are now some of your running backs. You know, that's the weight and height of these guys and how different the game is. And now you got quarterbacks, you know, that are just crazy big and running and what have you. Baseball's not that way. And I tell it all the time. I said I absolutely can take today's baseball and compare it to back when Babe Ruth played. They're using the same balls, they're using the same bats, same distances, everything there. Don't tell me that those guys didn't throw as hard as guys do today. Don't tell me that because it's not true. There ain't a guy today. There ain't one guy that pitches today that throws any harder than the hardest throwers when I was playing. Not one around. In fact, I'll even go even further and say there ain't a guy today that throw as hard as Rob Dibble or Billy Wagner or some of these other guys. I could just give you name after name that they had legitimately on the old guns through 103 miles an hour. Legitimate. That's crossing the plate, not out of the hand. Today everything's out of the hand, and that's why the numbers are. I mean, when you're seeing a changeup that's showing 90 miles an hour, no, guys, no. That's out of the hand. It's crossing the plate at 75 or 70 or whatever it is going to be. But it's you can. I seriously think you can take back then and compare it to today and vice versa. I really believe that because the game is the same. There's nothing except for the dickhead commissioner. He's changed all the rules in the last 10 years. But, you know, other than that, the game hasn't changed. It's all still the same thing.
Oh yeah, I would go back further. I'd say Bob Feller could strike out guys today. That boy would
I
hit
met Bob Feller.
You did get to meet Bob Feller. I never got to meet him. He did so many
Yeah.
Indians fantasy camps and all that. But he was
He used to travel a lot at the ballparks. He used to do a lot of stuff like that and sign autographs, what have you. But I met Bob. Yeah, he wasn't a very big guy.
He pitched well. The heater from Van Meter, baby. He pitched up at the fantasy camps. He was into his mid 80s. He was still out there throwing. That's wild, man. Love Feller.
Yeah.
All right. So when you was coming up, you kind of touched us on a little bit. Your first base and catcher is that what you would played if you didn't want to pitch? Was first base or shortstop or what was it?
You know, I just went where they told me to play. I never really said, hey, I want to be catcher or this, but I always loved catching. When I did put on the gear, I loved it. I absolutely loved being back there and controlling and you know putting the gear on and getting dirty and all that stuff. I love doing that stuff. I realized my first year of Legion ball. We didn't have high school baseball, by the way, where I grew up. We just had Legion in the summer, played like 30 games. But anyway, I realized when I was 16 years old, it was called midgets, you know, midgets for the Legion baseball, where all the 16-year-olds play together. And then next year it's 17 and 18 combined. But that midget year, we had a new coach in town. His name was Tim Copeland. He came from Indiana State, and he was a pitcher at Indiana State. And so he tells me, he says, I went to him and I said, hey, I just want to let you know that, you know, I'd like this year to play some third base and catch. He says, you're going to pitch. And I said, well, I want to play some other positions. He says, you will, but you're going to pitch. That's what you're going to do. I've heard all the I need to hear about who you are. He says, you're going to pitch. And that's when I kind of realized, is there something different? Because I was the only guy that did it. You know, now and I did some catching and I did some third base and second base. Actually, I played a lot of second base too. But that's when I kind of realized, hey, I might have something here, you know, with his right arm. I don't know, but that's when I kind of started getting inklings because before then I didn't really care at all. And like I said, I didn't have any goals or anything like that. So yeah, that's kind of how it worked with me growing up.
How fast was you when you first, in terms of pitching, like when you first got a radar gun, first got measured on a radar gun?
First measurement on a radar gun was me and when I walked on in Nebraska because I didn't get any. Nobody looked at me, nobody talked to me. But like I said, I always wanted to try to play at the next level.
Right.
When I went there, back then they had the old guns, and I remember when I first got to Nebraska, they got me at 83 miles an hour. That's where I started my freshman year. I was a redshirt freshman, which was actually something really good that worked out for me because I got to pitch against a team that was top 10 in the country every week in a scrimmage game.
Okay.
So I got to face these guys. They were, oh my God, some great hitters, man. And so I got to face those guys every week and kind of learn how to pitch. And, but I was throwing 83. By the time I left Nebraska, 2 years later, I was throwing low 90s.
Okay.
But my freshman year too, I should tell you this, I grew 5 inches and I graduated from high school at 5'9", 165 pounds. When I left my freshman year of college, I was 6'2" and almost 200.
Growing pains, huh? Man,
I didn't, what's so funny? You're asking or saying that growing pains. I had Osgood Slaughters when I was in junior high, and I couldn't. I was on a wrestling team. I had to quit wrestling. I just couldn't do anything. My knees were they hurt so bad. I couldn't do a thing. But I didn't have any of that my freshman year of college when I actually grew 5 inches.
That's great. For reference, guys, I'm about the same height as Kip. I'm about 6'2.5", 6'3", something like that. And I was 6'2" by the time I was freshman. Eighth grade, I think I was 6'2". It's pretty much been stagnant since then. That's crazy. It was that late, man. Wow.
I was 5'1", 105 pounds from my freshman year, or I'm sorry, from my 7th grade year to my freshman year of high school. I didn't grow up or gain anything. I was 5'1", 105 pounds. And the reason I know that because I wrestled all those years and I still always wrestled 105.
I did one wrestling practice and I was like, fuck this shit.
Hey, how about this little story? My high school, growing up, Gary, Nebraska, has a national record in wrestling. My class in 1983 was the last class to do it, but Gary, Nebraska went undefeated in matches for 10 straight years. Didn't lose a dual match.
Wow.
For 10 years. Yeah, it's got the record. Chuck Dieter was the coach, and he's like nationally recognized. He's dead now, but yeah, it was crazy how many great wrestlers and how many state champions and all that came out of Gary, Nebraska. You know, the guys were crazy, man. I mean, they diet and all this stuff. I said, I'm not dieting. I'm not going to do it. No, I'm not. If I'm going to wrestle, I want all my strength just so I can play. And I was good. I was really good. In fact, the day I quit wrestling, Dieter came up to me that day. It was in junior high. I was in 9th grade. That's how we did it back then. We were 9th grade in junior high. Anyway, he told me, he goes, today, later on, I want you to wrestle off with the varsity guy to take his spot. I said, Mr. Dieter, I can't do it. I gotta stop. I gotta quit because of my knees. I just can't do this anymore. It's killing me. That was my last time I ever wrestled. I was going to wrestle off that day to the varsity. So I was kind of good.
It was the diets was they would get crazy with the Kip. I mean, like we had this guy, his name was Daru. He would play football at like 230. He was a linebacker. Then wrestling season, he'd go down to 160. I'm like, how the fuck do you? And this guy was cut. Like he would just
yeah. Well, that's what all those guys did. That's what they all did at Gary. They all did that. I mean, they wouldn't eat anything, and 2 days before the match, they'd be spitting all the time. They carry around spit cups, just to, I'm like, God, I just don't want to do that. I will say I did diet one time in my life. I did. I used to love powerlifting. I used to, like doing the bench press and the squat and the deadlift, right? Mm-hmm. And so I entered a competition, and it was a state competition. And I can't remember how much weight I lost, but I went down 2 classes. I end up winning the state championship for the powerlifting. And the funny thing is, though, my numbers in that class would have won the next 2 higher classes. So I didn't even have to. I probably would have had a lot higher numbers too without dieting. It was tough for me to do. And I've never dieted, never even thought about dieting again. But I won that. I won the state championship.
I've never been a lifter. I'm just a lazy all around. But yeah, when it comes to dieting or comes to lifting, I mean, I could diet. Like I can, whatever. I'm not. It's not like my diet's not that bad. But when it comes to lifting, I lifted once, and then you get sore for a week. I ain't got no time for this. I mean, honestly, Kip, that's probably why I never really. I played football like 2 years of high school. That's probably why I never stuck with it. I just didn't like lifting. I love game time, man. I was a game time freak. Friday Night Lights and all that. It was amazing. But come practice for I was a lineman. I wasn't like I was a tight end or anything like that or quarterback.
Right.
Man, practice for lineman. You're just constantly running into people, and you get home, you're like,
fuck. Yeah. True.
All right. Now in high school, aside from your athletics, like what was your persona like? What sorts of music did you and your buddies like get pumped with back then?
I was a hard rocker growing up. AC/DC was by far my favorite group. They're still my favorite group to this day, but I've chilled out a lot. I listen to a lot of classic and what have you anymore. And my girlfriend, she listens to all genres and whatever. And we actually sit and we watch all these different competitions on TV. I like doing that. I just like seeing talent. But yeah, I was a hard rocker growing up. AC/DC, they were my thing.
Okay, yeah, you're going to be popular with our group. We got a lot of AC/DC fans out there. Well, have your music taste changed from then to now, or you just still kind of just?
It all depends. Like I said, if I'm with my girlfriend, it's I'll listen to whatever. I mean, the only two things I don't like listen to is stupid rap and opera. I'll listen to some rap, but when it gets into that other shit, man, I don't get it. I mean, what are you singing about?
Right.
I mean, it just, yeah, I don't get it. But, the opera, I can't understand it for one thing. So it's just like trying to listen to Latin music. I don't know what the hell they're singing about. I don't want to hear that.
I'd have to be pretty baked to listen to some opera. I remember Opera Man from Saturday Night Live when Adam Sandler did it. That was always good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But no, the whole thing is just, if you go to my house right now in Arizona, walk outside, the music's on. I have it on 24/7. Always do. It's just always on. And I'll go out. It's Alexa's box out there. I'll say, Alexa, change stations or something, but it's always on, always on.
I listen to music. It's weird because I got a job where I could pretty much listen to music all day, but it's like I'll listen to it for a little bit and then not too much because I don't know. It's my theory is, Kip, like once you hit 30, you kind of stop listening to new, or you kind of stop searching for new music or like hip music. You know what I mean? Like I could give a fuck what's on the top 40 chart, and I've been like that since I was 30,
Right.
pretty much. You know what I mean? So
I'm the same
it's
way.
comfort for a lot of people, music and all that. I feel it. I love it.
Yeah, I've always liked music. It's just I've never really gotten into music where I wanted to play an instrument. I've always wanted to play the guitar. My girlfriend actually got me a guitar, but man, I don't have that coordination. Yeah, I try once in a while, but that's about it. But back then, I was an athlete and I wanted to play baseball, and that's all I ever wanted to do. And I didn't, to me, a band, if you're in the band, you're a nerd. And now today I look at those band guys, I'm like, damn, man, that's something you can take for the rest of your life and do something with. When,
Right.
baseball's over with, I'm done. I'm finished. It's over with. So, I would kind of wish I'd have done some different things, and maybe acting or something like that growing up. But then again, like I said, when I grew up, that was kind of like, ugh, for an athlete to go do that kind of stuff was, nah, that's not your thing. You're a baseball player. So, oh well.
All right, now could you have went pro out of high school, and what made you go to college? I assume it was nearby. It was obviously nearby because you're like a fitness
Well,
oriented guy. Did you ever have any thoughts of the service or anything like that? Like, what was your mindset your senior year?
well, my senior year, like I said, we didn't have high school baseball. We just had Legion ball. So I went through the summer and nobody came to me. Nobody contacted me at all. And my coach, Tim Copeland, he called, we had a guy in my hometown. It was actually in Scottsbluff, Gary Neibauer. He used to pitch way, way back. To this day, I never met the guy. Haven't met the guy. But he saw the headlines. He saw all the reports and the articles in the newspaper. And he called the University of Nebraska, John Sanders, and told him, hey, you got a kid out here. You might want to take a look at him. And so John Sanders calls me and says, hey, we want you to come walk on at Nebraska. And so I went and walked on, and it was the craziest thing because I didn't know that I'd made the team until the second semester. I had no clue. I just kept busting my ass. They never gave me a hat. So I just figured I wasn't on the team or anything. So I just kept doing my thing. Next thing you know, comes around at the semester's over, and they drag me in the office and say, hey, we want to redshirt you here. And I'm like, what's that mean? And so I take the red shirt, which was great, man. I got to dress out in the big red uniform every game, sit in the dugout, do this, and do all that stuff. But like I said, the one thing about that year, it taught me. I mean, I'm coming from Gary, Nebraska, man. You got to understand some of these teams I faced, in Legion ball. These were country kids that just went out and played ball once a week, and that's what they did. My numbers, this is true. This is a true story. I played 16 years professionally, 3 years in college. The only numbers I remember of all those years, of all those teams I played, I only remember one stat line, and that was my last year of Legion baseball. I pitched 70 innings. I struck out 149 hitters in 72 innings. I struck out 149 hitters, and I gave up 15 hits on the season. It's the
Nice.
only numbers I remember. Check this out. I remember we're actually driving. I always kind of like hanging out with the coaches and stuff, because I try to learn. I always want to learn from all these older guys, right?
All right.
And so we're driving to somewhere. I think we were going to Sydney, Nebraska to go play them or something. I remember I'm sitting in the passenger seat, and Tim Copeland, we called him Cope. He says, Kip, he goes, do you know what your ERA is, Kip? You know what I said to him? I looked at him, I said, what the hell's an ERA? I had no idea. That's how I played the game, and that's how I played the game all the way through my career is the same way. I just wanted to win. Let's as a team, let's win this game. And man, we're all satisfied and have satisfaction afterwards. You get all these guys, they're all into themselves now, and they want to have high batting averages or hit home runs or low ERAs. Man, there ain't nothing better than having a W every time you go out there and pitch. That's to me is the greatest thing ever. And they don't do that anymore. It's just crazy. I don't even remember what your question was now, but I went on a little tangent.
We're all about tangents over here at the Square Table of Generous, my friend. Speaking of tangents, we have Captain chiming in from Northern Ireland. So we've had the Republic and Northern Ireland chiming in today. He says, have you ever considered playing a proper sport like football, which is our soccer? What's your experience with soccer, if any?
I've never watched a soccer match, much less play it. I've always said that's a communist sport because you can't use your hands. That's just, I've always made that joke. You know what? If I had to do it all over again, like in Ndamukong Suh, you remember him from Nebraska. He's played in the NFL for years, one of the best players ever, collegiately and in the NFL. You know what that man did growing up? He played soccer.
Nice.
And so when he got to football, he knew how to use his feet and his legs. That's how he learned how to have good footwork. And so when I was actually, you know what? I don't if you remember right, Ndamukong Suh, he actually went and kicked an extra point one time because they lost their field goal kicker. Okay. In a game, he went and kicked it because he learned how to kick soccer balls and stuff. So when I was a coach, a high school baseball coach, I actually told my players, go play the other sports as well. The reason I got hired at this school is because the pitching or the coach before me got fired because he got in a fight with the track coach because the track coach was telling him that he can't take his players. I high school kids, you go play all you want. This is going to be your last time ever you're ever going to play a sport in your life for the most part. Go play football, go play basketball, go play track, go play soccer, whatever. My kids loved me in high school. I go play 100%. When you're done over there, come over to practice, get your hits in, your batting practice in, get your long toss in. We're good. We won a championship my third season.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm all about the kids, man. I think kids are the greatest thing on this planet. And, I've always told these kids because I've never been called coach. I always get pissed. Don't call me coach. Call me Kip. I want to be. Then one time a kid actually asked me, he said, "Why do you want to be named Kip?" I said, "I want to be like you. I want to be a team player like you guys are. That's what I want to be. I don't want to be coach where you have to look up to me for the most part. Come to me for advice and I'll tell you some things I want to do. But for the most part, I just want to be your teammate here, Kip."
Yes, sir.
I'm not your normal camper, by the way.
Oh, dude, you're right at home with the Square Table Degenerates, brother. Speaking of different countries, we got Australia checking in with Andy. He says, "Would you ever try cricket? What about that? You familiar with cricket?"
Yeah, actually, when I got done playing, I actually thought about doing it, and I tell you what, Andy's his name.
Yeah,
Andy. There's a group now that's actually trying to get ball players late in their careers or guys that didn't quite make it in the big leagues to go play cricket because it coincides big time with it. I've watched cricket live several times. It's a different game, but I don't see a reason why a lot of ball players in the States couldn't play cricket and be really good at it. I just, at that time when I retired, I just started a family. And that's the reason I retired. I still had an opportunity for a couple more jobs to play, but I just said, you know what, guys, I'm not good anymore. And I just had my second kid. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm done.
Yes, sir. Yes. Whenever cricket comes up, I always joke the only cricket I know is from the movies King Ralph. Remember that with John Goodman when he broke the and Slumdog Millionaire when the kid went to the toilet to meet the cricket player. So it's the only
there you go.
The only thing I know about it, and I'm sure if I studied it, I mean, there's YouTube, you can learn anything on it, but I mean, at this point, I don't get enough time to keep up with the sports I like keeping up with now. So learning cricket when they don't really play it over here would be a whole different ball of wax, man. Mm-hmm. But you're talking about you've mentioned your girlfriend quite a bit. How did you guys meet? And brag on her for a little bit.
We met in L.A. one time. It was in late 2019. I met her and we went out on a little dinner date, and that's then COVID came around, and I flew over to Hawaii, I think 3 times in 2020. She was living in Hawaii on an island of Maui, and I went over and saw her for about a week at a time for 3 different times over there, and then she always told me that she wanted to get her two twins. She's got twin boys now in college, and she always told me that she wanted to kind of back away from the dating scene a little bit and make sure her kids get out of high school and what have you. And so
Right.
we really didn't even talk to each other for about a year. And then she ended up she always wanted to move out of Hawaii. I knew that as soon as her kids were out, she wanted to get out. So she rented a place in Newport Beach, and it was a really cool condo on the water, man. And I was talking to her a little bit, and she said, "Come on down, come on down, and we'll go have some lunch or something." So I went down there and ended up staying with her for 4 days, and we've pretty much been seeing each other ever since. It's been over 3 years now. So, but I've known her since I think when we went out was November 11th, if I remember right, at 219 when I met her
Okay.
in L.A. But she's the most beautiful person I ever met in my life. I'm not talking just looks. I'm talking a beautiful person inside and out. Just how she commands a room, and it's just she's awesome. I mean, I can't say enough good things about Michelle.
Good stuff. Good stuff, man.
Yeah.
I just bring it up randomly because I could catch vibes. I could tell you really we're into her just the way how you bring her up
No,
in
she's
the
by far my best friend. It's not even
yes,
close.
sir. It's
It's
awesome.
just one of those things where we have our times. I'm a
Everybody does.
dickhead. I'm
Everybody
a
does.
dickhead once in a while, and the more I'm in this relationship with her, the more I realize how much I do love her, and the things that she does and what have you. It just we coincide really well. But I've screwed it up a couple times on my own, not by cheating or anything like that. But that's something I would never do in my life. But yeah, just stupid stuff that I've done or said to her, and I take it back later on.
All right. Speaking of stupid stuff, you go to college now. Are you staying in the dorms? Did you move right in?
No, hell no, hell
What?
no. That's what I was just saying. I joined up with Sigma Chi. Some guys from my hometown uh, were in Sigma Chi, and had my cousin at the time. He just joined Sigma Chi, and I thought, you know what, I might want to do this. At least I'll know somebody right away when I get there. And so I did the whole pledge thing, man. Went through a semester of living in the dorms and living not the dorms, but the dorms in the fraternity, and had a couple roommates in there. In fact, my first roommate was the kicker on the football team
Okay.
at that time, and so it was just one of those things where I never did live in a dorm. In fact, I don't even think I ever went in a dorm room, to be honest with you. I don't think I ever did. I might have somewhere along the line, but I really don't think I did. But it was one of those things where I needed structure in my life, and I knew I needed structure in my life. And they were hard, man. It was hard. It was a hard thing to do. I probably should have been kicked out of that fraternity probably several times, but the guys from Western Nebraska that knew me stood up for me. And after I ended up getting initiated, I went back through all the notes and stuff, because they have those meetings once a week or so. I went back through them, man. It was Gross is being nominated to be blackballed. Gross being nominated to be blackballed. I mean, it happened a lot, but those guys kept sticking up for me, and I'm sure baseball had a lot to do with it also, keeping me in there.
Mustang said Animal House.
You know what? It was crazy. We had when you're in a fraternity, there's a big mix of group, of who's in there. You got your smart guys, you got your athletes. The backup running back was Porter. He was in our fraternity, and you just got a big mix of guys. You got your guys that are true. That's what they are. They're a fraternity guy. I wasn't a fraternity guy. I did it because of the people and for the structure. And Sigma Chi, by the way, is the third best kept secret in the world as far as the initiation, behind Coca-Cola and Kentucky Fried Chicken recipes. So
Hell yeah.
it's kind of a blur back then of what all happened, but the structure being in that fraternity, man, it was something, because I don't like to fail, but I do fail a lot. But it was one of those things where I knew I had to do this if I wanted. I had to get my grades. Once I got out of fraternity, I knew what I had to do. I only lived in the fraternity for a semester and a half, because the second time I went back, I left at 3 o'clock in the morning because they were still having a party downstairs, and I had to pitch the next day. So I got up and packed my shit that night and left, and that was the last time I stayed in a fraternity. We were a party gang. Don't get me wrong. It was crazy how much partying we did. Guys, believe me when I say we did it every night. There wasn't a Friday and Saturday thing. It was Sunday through Saturday night. We had kegs in that basement, and girls and guys would all come from all over the place, and we sit down there and turn on the music. and it was fun. It was a lot of fun, but it was, man, I tell you, like I said, when I was one of the guys that I had a car uh, when I was there, so I was one of the guys that had to collect money from everybody and go down and get the next keg. I was that guy. So I can't even tell you how many kegs I lugged into that Sigma Chi over that year. It was crazy how many I did.
Oh man, that's it. Like I said, I was fraternity adjacent, but I was a little older, so it was whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
man, them were the days. All right, so after you graduate from Lincoln, University of Nebraska Lincoln, or is it Lincoln, Nebraska, or Nebraska Lincoln? Nebraska
Lincoln,
Lincoln.
Nebraska.
Lincoln, Nebraska. You graduate and the draft is going on. Do you just do whatever and wait for a call if it happens, or by this time did you have some team scouting you? What was
Oh,
going on there?
I had a great idea. The year before, I back up one year. I went to after my freshman year. The coaches came to me, John Sanders and Mike Evans. They came to me and said, "Hey, we got a junior college down in Oklahoma, Murray State Junior College wants to pay for everything, and you go down there and get your innings in and all that stuff." So I said, "Where do I sign up for this thing?" I mean, they're going to pay for my schooling, everything free. He said, "Yes." I said, "That's where I want to go." So I went down to Murray State, and I pitched down there, and I got drafted in the January draft in the third round of the
Okay.
January draft for at it from the Cardinals. And so I already knew at that point because I was, like I said, I was throwing 90 something after my freshman year. And so what was really funny, it actually kind of got to me a little bit. And I kind of felt sorry for the rest of my team. Every time I'd pitch in junior college, there'd be 20 scouts in the stands. And we always play double headers, right? So as soon as I get done with my game, all those scouts would get up and leave. Gone. Every fucking game this happened, and I just like it just it's like God, I kind of feel sorry for everybody. I know. I mean, I I'm not doing this. I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do, and they're showing up. And so when I went back to Nebraska, I didn't sign. By the way, if I had to do it all over again, I'd have signed with the Cardinals. I'd have gotten professional as quick as possible because there ain't nothing like the instruction you get from professionals instead of amateurs by far. I didn't have a pitching coach, a real pitching coach till I signed my first contract with the Mets. Didn't have one. High school, all he did or in Legion Ball, he just said throw fastballs, go throw fastballs every time. It's all he wanted me to do. Uh, Mike Evans wasn't a true pitching coach; he was an infield coach, but they made him pitching coach because the pitching coach in Nebraska, after 1 month at Nebraska, my first, wasn't even a month, he had to leave. They had a family crisis in Las Vegas, so we had to leave there. And so, but he did teach me a slider, man. The only slider I ever threw my entire career. This guy taught me it took probably like a minute to teach me how to throw it. And it's kind of funny because he comes up to me, he says, "Kip," he says, "Okay, you're here." He says, "What pitch did you throw?" I throw a fastball. He goes, "How do you throw that ball?" I said, "Well, I just get on top and I throw the fastball." He goes, "Is it four seam, two seam?" I said, "I don't know what you're talking about." This is how I was, truly. I didn't know anything. And he said, "Well, you got four seam, two seam." He said, "Your ball moves a ton, so just keep throwing how you throw it." He said, "What else you throw?" I said, "I throw a curve ball." And he said, "What's it do?" I said, it goes from up here and comes back and across." He goes, "That's a slurve." Okay. And he said, "What else you throw?" I said, "I throw a drop ball." He said, "What's a drop ball do?" I said, "It goes from here and it goes straight down." He goes, "That's a curveball." He said, "Do you throw anything else?" I said, "I don't know what else there is." He said, "Do you throw a slider?" I said, "What's a slider?" I had no clue. He said, it's a pitch, and all it does, it breaks about this much at the very end and really late, and it still looks like a fastball coming in." I said, "How do you throw that?" And he showed me this grip. I promise you, I took it instantly. It was one pitch I just threw instantly. It was my second best pitch by far because my fastball sinker was by far my best pitch, but the slider I threw it my entire career. And then so then I go back to Nebraska, full ride. So now I've got two full rides out of 3 years, where the first year I had to pay for myself. I go back there, and uh, Marty Harvat was a scout, the regional scout then for the Mets, and he used to talk to me all the time. He'd call me all the time, "How you doing?" This and that. So I had a pretty good idea that I was going to get drafted by the Mets.
Okay.
So when that day came around, phone rings. It's Marty on the phone. I go answer it, and he says, "Hey, Kip, just want to congratulate you. You drafted in the fourth round." Conversation was that long. Went back to bed. Season gets over. The year before, I went to Cape Cod. One of the worst experiences I had in baseball besides playing with Boston. And so I always wanted to go to Alaska and play in that Alaskan league up there. So the Anchorage Glacier Pilots wanted me to come up there. And so I went up and I spent the entire season with them, dominated up there. And we came back and we actually won and went to Wichita and won the national championship. And I signed that next morning with Marty Harvat. I held out the whole summer. They doubled my signing bonus from the beginning to the end. And so everything worked out. But I'll tell you right again, if I had to do it all over again, I'd have signed with the Cardinals a year and a half earlier. I promise you things would have been different with me all the way through, no doubt about it. Marty Harvat did tell me, he said, Kip, if I'd have seen you in high school throwing 83, I promise you'd have probably been a first round pick out of Legion ball, throwing 83 with the movement you have on your fastball. And so he said, there's no doubt. He said, we know you were going to grow. We knew you were going to throw mid 90s. We knew that, but it was just a matter of time when that was going to happen. And he said it happened pretty quick with you. So yeah.
All right, I thought that because I was going to ask you about that Alaska picture because that's on your wiki page, and I thought that was a like a minor league team. So that was an independent league thing there up there.
Nope, that was one of the best teams I ever played in my life. We had, I think, on the team four total guys that actually end up playing in the big leagues. It was myself, Wes Chamberlain came later. God, who was the other? Steve Chitrin was a closer with the A's for a little bit. And God, who was the other guy? I think we had one other guy that ended up playing. But usually those teams like that, they're stacked with big leaguers. We weren't at all. And it was just it was a tight knit group. We all got along. We all did a lot of things together. Man, the stories I could tell are over and over. That's why I started writing a book, but I quit because my ghostwriter flaked on me. But I am going to get this book out sooner or later about my life experiences. It's my life is like nobody else's life and all the shit I've been through since I was a kid. And it's crazy. But that team, we end up having a 750 something winning percentage that summer up there, which is off the charts.
Right.
Ridiculous. And here's another thing really funny about this team. We were really good, but there were just things we couldn't do. And one of them, we always had errors. Every game that summer, we had an error except our last game in Alaska. I went up to our coach. It was like the 7th inning or something. And I went up to him. I said, "Hey," I said, "Do you know what's going on right now?" He says, "Don't say a fucking word." It was the last game of the season in Alaska. We didn't have an error. Every other game prior to that, we had an error, at least one error.
When you were in Anchorage, there's a bar up there called Chilkoot Charlie's. Was it around back in the 80s when you went there?
Yeah, they were all up there. That's when, back then is when we kind of did the Alaskan Bush Company thing. The
Bush
strip
Company.
bar.
Legendary.
There's several of them up there now. And you know what? More than anything, it wasn't that you wanted to go see strippers. It was the girls that were there were Southern Cal girls for the most part, and you could at least talk to somebody that didn't look like an Alaskan native.
Thank you.
I'm not taking anything away from the Alaskan natives, but I can promise you right now, there's an old joke. You see a good-looking girl in Alaska, pretty good chance she's not from Alaska. I had a blast in Alaska, though, man. I had so much fun. Tim Peters is my roommate. He almost got the big leagues. He pitched in AAA for a little bit. We'd go fishing every other night, man. I mean, every other night we would go fishing and we'd catch humpies and salmon. Oh my God, the fish we caught up there was crazy. And our lady we lived with, Sharon Woods, God rest her soul, she would, every once in a while we'd bring one back and she'd cook it up for us the next night, man. And it was, oh my God, the salmon fresh out of the water. Oh geez, it was so good. I've been eating salmon my entire life since then. I have been.
Oh, I love it. We went up there. I was in Alaska in the year 2000 and 2012 with the Guard. And my buddies, they went up on, I didn't go on the boats. I just wanted to go to the bar. I mean, dude, Chilkoot Charlie's is, I still say this to this day, it's a weird thing to say. It's probably my favorite bar on earth. It has everything you like. I mean, granted, it's been forever since I've been there, but I mean, they had dollar pizzas and draft beers everywhere, 3 different bars. And they had midgets on tricycles racing on the bar. I mean, this is like,
yeah, we went to a lot of places. That's what I'm saying is we would alternate from one night going fishing to go out and having beers the next night. We'd alternate after the games. And so we probably were there. I mean, Anchorage was cool. I got to see a lot of Alaska, for traveling to the other teams and stuff. And it was, I'm telling you, anybody, if you ever get the chance, anybody listening, if you ever get a chance to go to Alaska, I don't care where you've been in your life. I can promise you right now, there is nothing like it. Everything is huge, huge, huge. You know, you got your sparrows that fly around outside your house right now. They got bald eagles flying outside your house.
It's
That's
beautiful.
it's just crazy how big. When I first got there, I was staying with Sharon Woods, and she had this wood fence around the backside of her yard, right? Probably about, I don't know, just to look, probably 6 foot high, something like that. I'll never forget one of the first days I was in Alaska. Here comes this moose, comes walking, 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 walking. I'm just watching him. I'm just amazed how big this thing is, man, because I'd never seen a moose in person. It walks over that fence. Didn't jump. It walked over that fence. And I'll
Oh, yeah.
never, ever forget that as long as I live, how that, what that was all about, man. Alaska's so clean, man. It's so clean up there. Skies are, I mean, I'm looking outside right now, my buddy's window, and all I see is smog. I can't even see, because right now I'm up on the mountain. I can't even see down below right now. It's so smoggy here. Up in Alaska, none. It's crazy how cool it is.
We were driving down to it was either Portage Glacier or there's this Alyeska ski resort, and they got this huge like ski lift that goes to the top. And even not during the when it's not during ski season, you can go up there and have a couple drinks at the bar. So every trip we do, always go up there a couple times. But man, you talk about the bald eagles. I remember we cut around the one curve because like they try to fill the roads in with the mountains so they don't destroy the mountains and all that. So we curved around the one mountain, and the whole mountain face was probably 50 bald eagles just chilling. I'm like,
Yeah.
dude.
Just they're everywhere, man. They're everywhere. It's crazy. You know, you see it. I'll tell you another thing that's big up there: the mosquitoes. The first night in Alaska, man, we had to go play a scrimmage game, and I'll never forget this damn thing lands on my arm, and I'm like, what in the hell is it? You know what a daddy long leg is, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
how big it was. It was a damn mosquito. 6 and 8. Yep, everything here is that big. Everything you're gonna see is that big. But
And
it was so much fun up there.
The daylight was awesome. Man, you get out the
Yeah.
bar and fucking still
Never got dark.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that the old egg timer up there in the sky. That sun just keeps going in a circle up there, like an egg circle.
Damn it! Now you want me to go to Alaska? I got too many damn vacations planned, Kip. I got to throttle back. I got vacationitis, man. Somebody said the Browns might play in Paris. I'm like, well, fuck. Now I got to go to Paris, and it's all over the place, man.
I wouldn't fly across town to watch the Browns play.
Someday,
who's their quarterback going to be? Who's their quarterback going to be?
I mean, I gotta see how the draft goes. I mean, they could always throttle us in the draft or sign somebody and think. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be Sanders at this point.
No chance. I don't think it's going to be.
You don't think? I
don't think he's good at all. I don't think he's good.
He
didn't do anything. Every team says that. You know what you need? You need a quarterback.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we do need a line because the line we got is old and decrepit. So I mean, we got 2 picks in the first round and a pick in the second. I'm hoping
they always blame it on the line.
We sign 1 or 2 guys, and then the first out of the first 3 picks, I hope 1 or 2 are linemen too, and we draft a wide receiver because we need something. Oh, you're getting some love in the chat. They said I love Kip. Hell yeah, get a shirt made. That's awesome. Hell yeah.
There Kip's you go.
Sexy beast, man. He's a good looking guy. And blue eyes. That's what got his girlfriend drawn in. All right. So when you're getting called up, if you're like in a minor league team and all that, do they gather all the coaches in the office and they're like, you're going in? And is it like
great story? Here's another great story for this. This is just everything in my life is just different. It just doesn't matter. It's different. So we're in Oklahoma City. I'll never forget this. We're in Oklahoma City and we get rained out. AAA, right? I'm with the Reds early in the season. I actually draw this back a little bit. Coming out of spring training, it was the year. It was the holdout year, right? Or the strike year. And so spring training was late for the big leaguers. So I was already there. I was already ready to go, blah, 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 whatever. So now I'm in camp with the Reds. And it was really quick because they had to get them out, get everybody out so they get folks on the team because it was a very, very short spring training. So Lou takes every guy that wasn't on the team into his office. We're all sitting on the ground, whatever, all around. He just tells us all right there. Instead of bringing in one at a time, he says, all you guys are going back to AAA and AA. All you guys here. So we stand up. And the steamer, he was the pitching coach. He said, hey, stay right here. We want you to stay here, Kip. So I stay. Everybody else walks out. He goes, just want to let you know that we wanted you on this team. We wanted you to make this team, but we needed 3 catchers. We need to start the season with 3 catchers. So I'm like, why are you telling me this? You know, should I be happy about this or not? I'm not really sure what I should be. So anyway, a couple weeks later, We're in Oklahoma City. It's cold as hell out. Beginning of the season, you know, all that. It's cold. I think it was Oklahoma City. Anyway, it was raining, whatever. We didn't play that night, and so Pete McCannon was our manager. He takes us to a indoor batting facility so the guys could hit. Right, pitchers got nothing to do. We're just gonna stand around. I'm watching guys hit. You know, they're playing games in the cages, trying to hit balls off the back of the deal. And in this facility, they actually had a little small basketball court. And so all the pitchers decide they're going to go play basketball. So I was like, I kind of really want to do this. You know, he's got my workout in, all that stuff. And finally I said, hell with it, I'll go over there. So I go over there and I get the ball and I bounce it, and I shoot whatever. Next thing you know, McCannon, I mean, it's this fast. Pete McCannon called, said, Kip, get your ass over here. I go over, he goes, what are you doing? I said, what the fuck's it look like I'm doing, Pete? I'm playing basketball with the rest of the pitchers. He goes, you can't play. What? I said, I know I'm a white guy. He probably can't jump very well, but you know, it's just basketball. We're just kicking around, having fun. He goes, Kip, you can't do it. He goes, you're getting called up tomorrow. He goes, I can't risk it. I can't risk it. So he says to me, he goes, here's the deal. He goes, nobody knows this yet. You can't say a fucking word to anybody. Nobody can know. Not your roommate. Donnie Scott was my roommate. He actually played. Donnie Scott and Pete McCann actually played on the same team with the Rangers together when they were younger. So I'm just like, I can't call my parents. Nothing. No, you can't call anybody till tomorrow morning before you get on that plane to go to Cincinnati. I'm just all night long. I'm just sitting here and like, I mean, my heart is just like beating out of my chest, you know, thinking, God, I'm going to the big leagues tomorrow, big time, but I can't tell a soul. I mean, that's usually, you know, you see all these people get called up and it's like the happiest time of life. To me, it wasn't, because it's like, I can't tell anybody, you know? So the next morning I wake up and Donnie says to me, Scotty says to me, he goes, what are you doing? I said, I cat's out of the bag and tell you now. I said, last night Pete told me I'm going to big leagues. He goes, I knew something was up with you. He goes, last night you weren't even close to being yourself last night. I said, dude, I couldn't tell anybody. I couldn't call my parents. Couldn't call my mom. So that was my first call up right there. It was the craziest shit.
That's amazing. All right, so it's the 1990 Reds. How magical was it to be a part of this team, and what did you learn, if anything, from the Nasty Boys?
You know what? First of all, Randy Myers and I, we got traded over together, so I knew him already. The whole team that year was just crazy how everybody got along with everybody, and that's one of the things you got to have on a team. Is just got to have teams where everybody backs everybody, does everything for somebody, and that's kind of how it was. The Nasty Boys, well, they set a precedence to what's going on in baseball today. You know, they're the what pitchers go 5 or 6 innings now and bring in the relievers and throw as hard, you know. But the difference between those guys and back then is those guys could pitch. Today's guys, they just throw it as hard as they can and don't even care where it goes. They just let it fly. And that's the difference between today and back then. But you know, Norm Charlton was such a cool guy. I still talk to him to this day. He was just, I'll just give you a great example about how that team was. And when I first got there that day from coming up from Nashville, Norm comes up to me and he goes, man, I just want to give you a few things here going on. He goes, I know you haven't got paid or anything right here, and you probably want to go out and spend some money, and because now you're in the big leagues and what have you. He goes, just letting you know, he walks me over to this cabinet. And is normally a place where you put your personals. You know, you had a little lockbox. Well, there was one lockbox there. There was $300,000 in this lockbox. He goes, it's here for you guys. It's here for anybody. If you need it, take it, but put it back when you're done with it. He said, just return it. That's all it is. Nothing. It's an honor system. He goes, everybody in here, you know, these guys are all making good money. We're all making good money. Now you're doing okay. He says, you probably don't have any money yet. If you want a couple thousand right now to take somebody out to dinner tonight and celebrate, take it. Just bring it back when you get the money. And so right then and there, I was like, man, I'm in the fucking big leagues. And it was just crazy to have that, you know, camaraderie and everybody doing the things they do. You know, I didn't really, I tried learning from pitchers that threw kind of like I did. You know, I learned a lot from when I got to the Dodgers. I learned a ton from Sandy Koufax and all those guys. Claude Osteen was probably the greatest pitching coach I had ever been around by far. But the Nasty Boys, they were fun. Nationally known all over the place because what they did, the whole thing. And by the way, they were called the Nasty Boys because of Tim Liana. God rest his soul too. Tim Liana threw a knuckle curve,
Okay.
and he was a Rule 5 guy that Lou brought over from the Yankees with him, and he threw this curve, this knuckle curve, and everybody go, God, that thing's nasty. That's how the Nasty Boy name became for the bullpen, was because of Tim Liana. He rolled his car in Vegas a bunch of years ago and got killed.
Uh,
Another good guy, man.
You're not, when you said you've had the most random ass things. When it comes to people in your life passing away, my goodness, you weren't lying. That's horrible. Poor guy.
Yeah,
Man,
it's part of life, man. That's why
right.
I've
I
always
mean,
said. I've
yeah.
always told people, live it today because tomorrow's not guaranteed.
Fucking hell, I mean, that's the way I look at it. I mean, after your parents go, it's kind of like, okay, and then you're just like, if somebody passes away, it's just part of life.
My mom died at 50 of brain cancer.
Man, mine was 65 of I want to say it was like cervical cancer or something like that, but yeah,
So I'm
horrible.
saying, live it today because tomorrow is not guaranteed.
100%, man. All right,
Yeah.
now in your opinion, why haven't the Reds sniffed the title since then? And following up that, what is your
Just
take on?
exactly what I just told you. Because after that first year, people didn't get along the same way. That next year, you remember Rob Dibble and Lou Piniella getting a fight in the clubhouse. I was right there. I was right next to the camera taking that video. I wasn't going to jump in. I was kind of hoping that Lou would kick his ass because Dib's got to be a pain in the ass because all he wants, I need to get paid. I need to get paid. Well, dude, it's not how it works. You got to get to your third year and then you can go to arbitration, do your thing, and get paid if you want. But right now, that's all we hear out of you is I got to get paid. I got to get paid. It was all about him after that World Series win, and so the team kind of broke up a little bit. I mean, just look at the records. It was the same team.
All right.
It was the same team from year to year. Why does one go sweep from from start to finish all the way through? The next one can't win a game to save their ass. Why is that? Same team, because you got guys on the team now that only care about themselves.
Okay.
By the way, I'm pretty straightforward with all my shit, aren't I?
Hey, dude, I'm not gonna lie, Kip. You're one of my better interviews. You're damn near into the top 10, if not top 5 at this point. I mean, it's you should be. I was thinking here, man, like, why isn't this guy on like Fox Sports Ohio or something? He could be a sportscaster. He could be right
I
next
don't
to
hold back. I've been told my voice would be great to be a sportscaster, but you know what? There's politics in that shit too. I went in for a job interview to be a pitching coach about, I don't know how many years ago it was, with the Padres. And I'm instructional ball. I'm there for like 3 days helping out the pitchers and teaching them different stuff and I love teaching baseball, by the way. I'm very, very good at it. So I get my interview after the 3 days and I sit down with them. They're telling me this, they like me about this, like me about that. And I said, can I ask a question? He said, yeah, go ahead. I said, if I get this job, am I going to be able to teach what I want to teach, or are you going to teach me, or are you going to tell me what I need to teach? He said, well, we're going to tell you what you need to say and do. I said, I don't want the job. You just got 3 days of my assistants out here. I said, I don't want to do that. If I can't go spread my knowledge, why are you hiring me? I don't want to do that. I've always been pretty outspoken about shit. So, I'm really good at being a pitching coach. Like I said, I learned from Don Drysdale, Sandy Koufax, Claude Osteen. I mean, some of the guys I learned from it's ridiculous what I learned from these guys. And you know what's so funny about it? They all say the same things. All these guys that were great all say the same things. I teach hitting, and because I wanted to learn when I was a pitcher how these guys hit. How do they swing? What flaws can I look for? And so I teach a lot of hitting these days. And people say, "Well, you're a pitcher. Why would you teach hitting?" I said, "Why are catchers pitching coaches?" Oh shit, yeah, you got a kind of point there, because they see what they see all the time. And what does a pitcher see all the time? I see hitters. And so I've now learned how to teach hitting over the years. In fact, I got a 6-time All-Star, 10 years, I think 15, 16 years in the big leagues. He told me, Kip, he goes, because I actually gave him a lesson one time. He wanted to get a lesson. He says, Kip, I promise you right now, you could teach hitting in the big leagues right now with
Nice.
what the knowledge you have. It's just, when I signed that contract to be a professional, I decided right then and there, I've got to learn this game. I got to learn everything I can about this game. Every year in spring training, I did one thing every year. I read the rule book every year. And it amazes me how ball players don't know the rules of the game they're getting paid to play. I mean, it's it's actually funny to me. I mean, you would think that you would want to know every rule, and I'll tell you what, I've won a couple games because I knew the rules. And two in particular, I remember for sure is the same rule. One was in Caracas. I was pitching, and it was a low pitch in the dirt. Uh, uh, there's a runner at second base, and the hitter took his bat and he hit that ball back to the catcher. I had the same thing happen to me in Japan one time. It ended the game in Japan, actually. When there's a runner on, you're interfering with the catcher. It's a strikeout. He's out.
Okay.
So one time it happened to me to end an inning in Caracas, and in Japan it ended the game.
Oh man,
Yeah,
walk
the game
off
was over.
interference. Love it.
They interfered with the ball. You can't do that if there's a runner unless there's timeout. You can't touch that ball as a hitter. So there's just rules that people don't know about, and it's strange to me why a guy that wants to learn how to or play a game for a living, getting paid to do it, why wouldn't you want to know every rule there is to know? Why wouldn't you?
100%.
Yeah.
Well, you talk about Japan. It's a perfect segue. I was just about to get into Japan. It's funny. We talked for an hour and 20. We didn't talk about Japan once. That's wild to me. But so you left for Japan in 94. Like, what do you think if you would have happened, if you'd have stayed in America and with the strike and all that, what do you think would have happened?
Well, go back a little bit. The reason I went to Japan was because of Tana Lasorda, for the most part. I always wanted to go. Don't get me wrong. I always told my agent if I ever get the chance to go to Japan, I'd like to go because I just want to play baseball and experience things, different places, what have you. So Tommy and I did not get along. He just, for some reason, him and I just didn't get. He always wanted me to cut my hair and blah blah blah. Now look at the hair that these guys have out there. I always had a little baggier uniform because I liked to not feel tight. And he always was all over that. And then a few years later, everybody's wearing baggy uniforms. So Tommy and I wouldn't get along, but I went over to Japan, and it was a great move for me. It really was. I went over to be a closer, and I was there for about 2 weeks, and we didn't have one game to close, not one. I came in a couple games, just get some work in, whatever. And then the GM comes up to me one day and said, "Hey, would you like to be a starter?" And I said, "I'd love to be a starter so I can pitch." That's when I became a starter over there. And I think I only came in relief one other time in my 5 years over there. And it just what they did over there is they allowed me to be me and to pitch the way I pitch. And they never asked me ever to do anything differently mechanically or anything like that. And I'll tell you the reason why they probably didn't is because I went into them one time for workouts, because they do stuff, they do dumb workouts over there. I call it leapfrog. All it is leapfrog. You're not getting anything done. You're just doing it for time wise. And so I went to him one day and I said, "Hey guys," I said, "I'm not doing this anymore." I said, "It's just a waste of time. I want to go get my work in, get all my work in, and be done with it. I'll come out here and shag fly balls, whatever, but I'm not going to sit out here and do all these hinges and I don't know what the hell they all do, all these exercises." I said, "I'm not going to do it." I said, "I'm in better shape than all these guys." And so they said, and I said, "If you don't like it, release me, get me out of here. I don't care." So my first year, I think, I don't remember, I don't know. The team I played on wasn't very good. They weren't. For the whole time I was over there. I think one time only that we had a chance to go to the playoffs, and I knew we weren't going to go because it's one of the things they do over there. But anyway, the experience over there was they let me do my thing, never messed with my mechanic. In 5 years, I never got sent down to minor leagues, and that's very, very rare for a Gaijin to not go down to minor leagues for at least a week or so during their tenure there. And so they actually, to be honest with you, after my first or about my second or third year, the pitching coach actually started bringing me in to some of the bullpens for the other pitchers so I could look at them and have suggestions for them. So I knew they liked me. But then what happened was my last year over there in 98, my contract was over because I had to, if I won 10 games in a season, my next year's contract got renewed automatically with a raise. And that happened every year I was over there for the three straight years in that contract. And the last year, what happened was I had a buddy over there from California, came over. He was on work, and he just happened to be over there for my last day. And so we went out that night. We went out and had a couple tequilas, had a couple of this, couple of that, and he's got to get up in the morning for his job. And so I said, I'll take you home. So I get on my motorcycle. I rode a motorcycle over there. I had my bike shipped over there. I was riding it. Oh my God, they hated that though. And so I looked down at the gas tank and I'm about out of gas. So I turn around and go back. So I go get my car. It was a Mazda Family, a red. And I'll never, oh my God. So we get in the car, we take off. We go down. The Korean embassy was about quarter mile from my apartment. Lights flashing all over the place, blah, blah, blah. They stopped me. The guy can smell alcohol on me. I got to do all this. They got to get out. I actually got to blow through this tube and a balloon blows up, right? And so I'm not passing this test. I know I'm not going to pass this test. And so the cop spoke a little English. They all speak English over there, by the way. They really do. They just don't want to do it. And so I asked the guy, I said, is there any way I can go back to my apartment first? You take me back there or whatever, because they're going to take me to jail. They're going to take me to the cop shop. And I said, is there any way you can take me back? Because I said, we're supposed to leave tomorrow to go back to States. I said, can I at least go and let my wife know, what's going on? He takes me back there. He takes me back to the apartment. So I tell her, I said, Jamie, I said, I don't care what happens. I said, we got to get on that plane tomorrow. Somehow we got to get on that plane. Okay. It's all I care about right now. So I go to the cop shop with my buddy. We're sitting at the desk, never go behind bars or nothing like that. And this guy, he's the cop that picked me up. And he's got an old typewriter. He's putting paper in. He's typing. They're asking questions and they're typing. And every once in a while, he'd take that, he'd rip it up and throw it away. Dude, we are there till in the morning when it's light. It's light. By the way, the cop shop and the fighter's office, main office, shared a wall in that place. So at the end of the morning, I mean, we're just. I mean, I'm so tired and just he just. I mean, paper wasting paper. So we finally, Toshi, my interpreter, had to come up. He comes in a 3-piece suit. My interpreter's there. He comes in a 3-piece suit. They got to be all formal, because here I am representing the fighters. And so he finally lets us go. We go downstairs. We get outside in the sunlight. It's probably 6 o'clock in the morning now. And he says, Kip, do you recognize that guy? I said, not really. I don't. He goes, it's beginning of the year, this year. He says, everybody in Japan has to have if you have a car, you have to have a parking permit that says you have a place to park your car in Tokyo. So I had to go to some shop, cop shop, to get this deal. So I filled out the forms and all that, and I had to come back to get it, later on, like 2 weeks later. The guy asked me, doing the forms, he says, when you come back here, he says, is it okay if I bring a few things so you can sign them for me? I said, sure, absolutely. So when I got back there 2 weeks later, whatever, he had a whole box of stuff, and I signed every last thing in that box for him. That was the cop that picked me up.
Nice.
That was him. They didn't sign me back though.
It's so funny.
I had a team over there that wanted to give me a 2-year deal, but at that time, my wife Jamie, at the time, she'd never experienced the big leagues, and Boston offered me a 2-year deal. So I said, you know what? Let's go back to States. Let's go back and do it. One of the regrets I have in all my life is I should have stayed in Japan for 2 more years.
That's so, and I could vouch for your Japan jail story, because there was this snowboarder I had on probably about 3-4 months ago. His name was Ross Rebegulati, and he was from Canada, and it was 1998 Nagano Games, and he got the gold medal, and then he popped top for weed, and he said pretty much the same thing. He was just at the cop shop the entire night, just talking whatever the thing, and they just let him go, and he flew back to the States the next day. That's so funny, man.
Yeah, he just made sure we got sobered up. That was it. My buddy ended up going to his meeting. Nothing happened there. It was all good. He was tired out his ass, but other than that, it was all good. But yeah, it was just, oh my God, what a long night that was that night, man. Oh, by the way, the reason the Korean embassy that day, somebody had a threat on the president of Korea, or whatever they call it there. There was a threat on his life. That's why they had all those cops out there.
Oh,
I didn't know. I had no clue.
Oh, wow. All right, we got a bunch of questions from the chat. Let's go through these fast as we can here. Shredder says, have you ever hit another player with a pitch? How many hit by pitches did you have over your career?
I used to lead the league every year. 90% of my pitches that hit hitters were on purpose. No question about it.
No, that's a great segue. Why was this just because give me reasons?
They knew it was coming. They all knew it was coming. Almost every hitter you hit, they know it's coming. Okay. Something during the game. I was always the guy that would do it. I had no problem doing it. I remember in Double A one time, Sammy Sosa the night before we're playing he's in Double A with the Rangers, and he hit a home run. And man, I mean, he pimped it like you couldn't believe, man. He's sitting at the plate, sitting at the plate, sitting at the plate, and he let out. He was a leadoff hitter then. And next thing you know, he finally rounds the bases. Takes like 3.5 hours to get around the bases. I'm ready for dinner before he gets back. Next game, I'm starting the game, and he's leading off. First pitch of the game, I hit him right in the ribs. I had no problem doing it at all, zero. But almost all the guys you hit are pretty much on purpose for the most part. 90% of them are, yeah.
Now, do you ever? I always see them. They give the warning and ejected it. How many times have you ever been ejected? What's the deal there?
The only time I ever got ejected was I hit a ball off the wall, got a double. Next pitch was a in between hopper to the second baseman. I wasn't quite sure if he was going to catch it in the air or not, and so I take off to third base a little late. He throws this to third base. The throw is way high. I mean, I slide in, dive in head first, come up. He tags me. They call me out. Third base coach and myself both got thrown out of the game for that. I mean, we got up like, are you kidding me? It was so late. I mean, so late. But the ball beat me by far. It wasn't even close for that. But then as a manager, I've been tossed. I shouldn't say I've been thrown out of a few games. I've been thrown out of a few games. Not at the big league level though. Only in AAA did I get thrown out of games.
Okay.
But I coaching wise, yeah. I had no problem.
All right, Shredder wants to know how you feel about the Chicago Cubs stadium with the fans and the love of the city. I can basically just talk about Wrigley Field and the Cubs.
Wrigley Field is like none other, man. It's kind of like Fenway. You go to Fenway and it's the nostalgia. Here you are, you're playing the same stadium as Babe Ruth played in. I played in the old Tiger Stadium where Ty Cobb played. That when you go to those stadiums, that's the first thing I think of is, and the thing about Fenway is inside the scoreboard up there, all the players, all the names of everybody that's played in Fenway is got their signature in there. That's really, really cool there. So you can go around, you can see all the old timers and what have you. I don't know when they first started signing in there, but God, yeah, Wrigley, man, Wrigley's Wrigley. I mean, it's one of a kind. Yeah, it's cool. Never changed.
Yeah,
they've changed Fenway a little bit. They tore down the old Tiger Stadium, but Fenway or Wrigley's still Wrigley. There's nothing changed about it.
Still in the same neighborhood too. It's crazy.
Same
All right,
gig.
Captain from Northern Ireland wants to know: with sportsmen, when does confidence become arrogance, and can arrogance ruin a career?
Well, you got to be confident. If you're not confident, you're not going to last long, unless you're really good. Believe it or not, Billy Wagner was not a confident pitcher. He's in the Hall of Fame now. He was scared every time he went up to pitch. He flat out told me that one. He said, "Kip, I'll tell you right now, every time I go out there, I'm scared. My heart's beating, and I'm scared I'm going to get my ass kicked." I don't think he was scared. I think he was more nervous, if that's one way to say it. But you've got to be confident. If you're not confident, you're going to get your ass kicked because it's going to show out there on the mound when you're playing. As a hitter, same way. You can see when a guy is I don't know what you want to say when he's in the batter's box or in the field. They don't want balls hit to him. You got to be confident in what you're doing and who you are and how you do it. And when my first year of professional baseball, I went to instructional ball first. I didn't play in a season because I played up in Alaska for the whole summer. I went to instructional ball, and that's where all the top prospects are in the organization, from A ball up to AAA for the most part, or AA for the most part. And when I got to spring or that camp, after about a week looking around at everybody and seeing what they can do and how they do it, I knew right then I had a chance. I knew I had a chance because I didn't think a lot of these guys were that good. I mean, they were good. Don't get me wrong. They were good, but they weren't at an elite level that I thought they would all be at. They weren't at all. You only got so many Dwight Goodens. You only have so many Chipper Jones. You only have so many of those guys. And they're few and far in between. But there's that next level, a little bit below, that are going to be all-stars or playing the big leagues for years. And it's a different level, but they're not the Chipper Jones and the Dwight Goodens of the world, so that's how that is.
For sure. All right, now how soon playing in Japan did you learn about Ichiro, and how did you do in your career against him?
I knew right away about Ichiro. Ichiro, I actually talked to Ichiro quite a bit when I was over there. He spoke very good English. They all speak English. Uh, but he, right away, everything, every billboard over there is Ichiro. It was just all over the place. That's all you saw was him and Godzilla. What was his name from the Giants?
Oh, Matsui.
Matsui. Yeah, Matsui. It was all the billboards were those guys, and so you knew right away. I faced him a ton. I faced Ichiro a ton over there because we only had 6 teams in the league. You had the Pacific League and you had the other league that had 6 teams. So, but you only played your league until the playoffs, and so we played 5 teams. And so I pitched against Ichiro a ton. Ichiro probably, I don't know what the numbers are, but it felt like Ichiro probably hit 500 off me, and probably 80% of those hits were infield hits against me. Infield
Oh,
hits. I'll never forget one time. There's another one. He hits a ball to first base. He beats me to first base. He beats me. I got over there. I said, not happening again. No chance. Every time, I promise you, for the rest of the time over there, every time I threw him a pitch, I started going to first base. I'd throw it and I'd start going just in case. Every time I said, no chance he's going to beat me to first base ever again. He did well against me. I mean, Ichiro's Ichiro, man. He never struck out. He never struck out. In fact, he set the strikeout non-strikeout record against me. I was on the mound. It was kind of a funny thing that happened though. Runner at first base, and all he's got to do is not strike out against me in this at bat, and he'll have the non-strikeout record for consecutive at bats without a strikeout. He hits a line drive to second baseman, and we doubled up the guy at first base for a double play. He didn't
nice.
strike out, but he caused 2 outs.
Yes, sir. All right, Shredder wants to know.
Ichiro's a great guy, by the way. He's really good. He's funny. He's intellectual. He'll speak English to you. He speaks very, very good English with an accent, but he speaks good English.
One of my favorite non-Indians players. I love Ichiro. Just a diabolical.
I made 3 All-Star teams over there. Every year I had a full year. I made the All-Star team over there, and one of those years, everybody wanted to see him pitch. He came in our game and closed it. Struck out three hitters in the 9th inning to close the game for us.
Ah, beautiful.
Didn't pitch at all. Came in and struck out 3 guys in a row in the All-Star game.
Oh, amazing.
He could have done anything he wanted to.
Shredder wants to know, do you have a favorite ballpark to get food in? Do you guys really like, well, what is the food situation? Maybe they just put out a buffet for you guys and then whatever.
Back in the day when I played, you'd have a spread. It would change every night for the most part. They would have the same spread for the whole time you're there. As far as day 1, it would be this, day 2 would be this, day 3 would be this. And so they alternated that out for all the teams that come in. For me, it didn't really matter what it was, where it was coming from. Shit, I used to order out burgers from upstairs all the time when if I was in the bullpen. I'd have them like at Dodger Stadium. I always have the clubbies in the 2nd inning or something bring me down a double cheese with bacon on it, and that'd be my pregame meal, because I knew I wasn't going to pitch till probably the 7th or 8th inning anyway, so I had plenty of time to eat it and digest it and all that stuff. So, it all depends. Everybody's got different spreads, and it didn't matter to me. To me, it was always something good. Don't get me wrong, because you're going to pay for it. It's going to cost you $60 for a days of clubhouse dues, so you might as well enjoy it and have a few beers after the game, what have you. But I always kind of took advantage of having the clubbies around and getting something else that I want. But I was always a very good tipper too.
That's good. You always there's a line from this movie, My Blue Heaven, with Steve Martin. He goes, I don't believe in tipping. I believe in over tipping. That's what you got to do. You got to over tip. And then the first place you always, when you go somewhere, always talk to the people who run things, the maitre d's and the hotel staff and the waiter.
Yeah.
Those are the people who run things. Those are the people you want to make their friends. Give those people a $5 or whatever, some weed, whatever you got to do. Hook those guys up, because you make your pleasant stay a lot more pleasant. Pleasant.
For sure.
All right, a couple more. Captain says, why do you think baseball hasn't really caught on outside the USA, Japan, obviously Latin America too, but like why do you think it doesn't infiltrate like Europe and like, India?
Because that's all they do is play soccer. They play their own football over there, and it's a completely different game. And over the years, I mean, you probably remember back probably about 20 or 30 years ago when soccer started being infiltrated here in the States. Everybody said soccer's going to take over. I said, no, it's not going to take over. Bullshit. It's not going to take over. Man, I had a best friend back then. He said, Kip, it's going to be over with. We're not going to have baseball anymore because soccer. I said, dude, there's no chance it's going to happen. I mean, baseball is the all-American sport. Yeah, football has its times, whatever. Super Bowl's coming up this week. Okay, whatever. But you're not going to take these kids and from day one, they're going to be 6, 7, shit. Now it's 4 years old. They have travel ball at 4. These kids are playing games. It's changed. Don't get me wrong. It's all money now. But at the same time, what other sport can you take a kid out and play every day? What can you do? You can hit in your garage. You can throw in the yard. You can go to the park and do whatever, have a little game. And you're not going to take that away from the American people. You just can't. Now, don't get me wrong. The Latins and the Japanese are taking over for sure. Latins are now over 50% of the big leagues. Over 50% Latins is now. And you know why? They love it. It's what they do. They grow up with a stick in their hand and a made up ball, and they go get a milk carton to make a glove out of it. They love it. Man, I've seen so many videos of these kids in Dominican and some of these places. They don't have shoes on. They're out playing in the dirt and just having a blast and trying to learn and play the game. In the States, you go to the down the street here at a game. Every kid's got a big ass backpack. He's got 3 or 4 bats hanging out of it. He's got an infield glove. He's got an outfield glove. He's got these hitting gloves. He's got mitts for sliding. Whoever came over this mitts for sliding thing what is that? So they all have all this stuff on. They all have new kicks, bats that cost $500. Shit, I didn't even have a bat. My first bat I ever had, oh my God, I think it was broke and I had to put a nail through it to keep it together. And because I never swung an aluminum bat in my life. I grew up all the way with wood bats. And so I don't get the Latin thing compared to the American thing. Americans need to learn from the Latins and the Japanese, by the way, big time. They really do. And it's never going to go away though. Baseball is going to be here forever.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Unless the Dodgers completely screw it up.
Well, what is your take on the what the Dodgers are doing? I mean, do you think we need a salary floor? I mean, some of these franchises.
You need both. You need both. I just came from I told you I just came from urgent care a little while ago, and the guy asked me a couple questions. I told him I played ball. That's why I had to get my shoulder worked on or whatever. And he takes me and he goes, "What do you think about the Dodgers and what they're doing?" I said, "It's bullshit." I said, "It's not their fault. They're going by the rules, but this commissioner is ruining the game so bad in the last 10, 15 years, whatever he's been there now." I'm telling you, the first time he got in, when he first signed up, I said, "Watch out, guys. This guy's going to change it all." And he did. He changed all the rules and stuff. It doesn't make sense. You can't let teams do what the Dodgers are doing. You can't do it. Nope. You got to step in and say, no more, no more. The Dodgers don't have an owner. They have a conglomerate of owners. They have 50-something owners. They all pull their $1 billion together, billions and billions and billions. They don't care how much they spend. They don't care that rat's ass what they spend. Truth. This is how about this number? When the Dodgers take the field this year in the first game of the season, they'll have $2.2 billion they got to account for in salaries throughout the contracts. $2.2 billion. Just let that sink in for a second. And then you got the lonely A's over here. They got what, like a how many $1 million? I mean, it's not right. Check this out. When I was playing, my last year was 2001. Even before then, I used to say this, and it's still true to this day. Right now, today, I can tell you 4 teams are going to be in the playoffs in 3 years. In 3 years, I can tell you right now, 4 teams are going to be in the playoffs right now. Is that right? Should that happen? No, it shouldn't happen. You can just pencil the Dodgers in for life now. They just paying this kid $60 million a year.
Kyle Seager was his name.
I mean, what are we doing? I mean, seriously, what are we doing with this game, guys? I mean, don't get me wrong. I think they're all worth whatever you want to pay them. I get that. I understand that. If you want to pay them, they're worth that. But the problem is when you have $2.2 billion on your payroll for the duration of your contract, and this team over here only has one player with a multi-year contract, there's something wrong. There's something seriously wrong with this game. And it's running these teams out. I mean, who wants to go watch Tampa? Tampa Bay's building a new stadium in actually Tampa now. And you got to have a ceiling, you got to have a bottom. And I'll tell you what, if if you give all that tax money that the Dodgers have to pay, which they don't care how much they have, to
right,
other
whatever.
teams, they should have to spend every dime of that money. Every
Yeah,
dime. And they say, well, they're all billionaires. These guys are in business for business first. They're not in business to say, hey, we want to win a championship. Or, yeah, they'd love to, but at the same time, they don't have the resources to go out and compete with the Dodgers and the Bostons and the New York Mets and these teams. They don't have the resources. Yeah, they have billions, but they're not going to take their personal money and sign a player to a multi-year deal when the guy's probably going to get hurt in 3 years anyway and not play another game of his life. You know,
right.
it's
Giving
just
guys,
it's there's got to be a way to get this done right. And I would never sign a pitcher, by the way, more than 3 years. There's no way I would. I mean, he's just, especially with the game today, the way it's played. These guys blow out their arms every other outing. It's something's wrong. Some of these guys are going 6 and 7, 8 days in between starts now,
that's insane.
and they wonder why their arms are blowing out.
They used to have 4-man rotations before.
I was in one for a while.
Would you rather prefer a 4-man or a 5-man? What do you think?
It didn't matter to me. I remember Stan Williams came to me when I was with the Reds. It was our second year there. And he comes up to me, he says, Kip, he goes, we're thinking about doing a 4-man rotation. You in? And I said, absolutely, I am, Steamer. He comes to me about an hour later and says, it's off the table. Nobody else wants to do it.
Oh my goodness.
I just did whatever they wanted me to do, man. If you want me to do this, I'll do this. If you want me to do that, I'll do that. I remember in AAA one time I pitched 9 straight games. I came in 9 straight games, and the 10th day, the players took my uniform out of my locker. They said, no more. You can't keep doing this.
You're off to you're like the guy with seniority taking all the overtime. Like, give some overtime to some of the other workers, you fuck.
I just said, hey, you know what? If they want me to do it, I'll do it. I'm gonna go do it. And you know what? Looking back at it, I probably shouldn't have done a lot of things that I did, but it was trying to, like I said, trying to win a ball game. That's all I ever wanted to do was win ball games.
Yes, sir. All right, what does your memorabilia collection look like, and was it cool? Look, the first time you saw yourself on a baseball card. Do you collect baseball cards of yourself? What's that kind of?
I don't collect them, but I have them all. I had a lot. I got a lot of cards. I probably get 4 or 5 in the mail a week.
Okay.
People wanting to sign. I can't imagine what some of these guys get, like a Barry Larkin or an Eric Davis or something like. I can't even imagine what their mail situation is every week. I can't even imagine it. I get 4 to 5 a week, and I was a nobody. And it just blows me away. But it's so cool. I actually get cards I've never seen before. I didn't even know I had them. And because sometimes you're just with like when I was Houston, I wasn't there very long. And but I got cards with Houston. I'd never seen them. I've never collected cards, but I've got all my cards. I had a ton in Japan also. I still get paid for the ones in Japan. They still send me a check every year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, occasionally in my Facebook feed I'll see like there's a group that does it. It's like through the mail autographs or whatever, some shit. And
yeah, I think that's where a lot of it comes from. And I think one of the reason why I get so many is because I sign them.
Right.
I sign them and I send them back.
Kip's a good guy, and he'll sign for you, and then they send them.
And so I think that's exactly what it is. These groups, they say, Gross, he'll send them back to you. Don't worry. It might take a while because I don't want to sign them as soon as they come. I get a pile of them stacked up before I do it. I don't like this every week. I'm not that guy. So, but I do sign them. Eventually, you're going to get back. How about this story?
If you're ever looking to get remarried, here's a good idea for you. Put like, hey, I got a $5 fee for my GoFundMe. Hook it up, and then boom, boom, boom.
Couple years ago, a guy gets hold of me. He said, hey, I got a bunch of stuff I want you to sign from the Reds. He said, I'll pay you whatever amount it was. I don't remember what it was. And so I get this box in the mail, and I'm getting ready to kind of move to Arizona. So I'm getting everything in the house situated, and so I got it all packed up, whatever. And about 2 or 3 months later, he gets a hold of me again. He goes, I haven't got the package back from you yet. I said, dude, I haven't signed anything. I haven't done a thing. So I started looking for the box. I couldn't find it. I couldn't find what I did with it. I mean, I don't know. Did somebody throw it away? Because we've been throwing stuff away, and my son was helping me, and we were throwing shit away here and there. I finally find it in one of my garages, and I opened the box up, and it was of all the players on the team from the '90 Reds.
Oh,
they all this stuff that had all the different names on there, and I'm like, oh my god, why didn't this guy tell me this? I was shaking when I saw this. Oh my god, I could have screwed all this up for these players and stuff. and what he'd done, all the work he'd put in this thing, all the money he had to send this thing around the country and the world for that matter. Because, you know, you got Dominicans, you got Latins, you got Venezuelans, you got Puerto Ricans all over the place. And so I ended up telling him, I said, dude, why didn't you tell me? I thought all this stuff was just for my name only. I've done that several times though. I've got big ass boxes from people that had to sign all kinds of stuff, but I get it all done.
That's crazy, man. All right, let's get a couple more. We'll get you out of here. You get a great interview, man. I told you like an hour. But when people always ask, they go, "How long you need me for? Or how long will this go?" I always say, like an hour. And if we're having fun, we'll go, as long as we need to. And obviously, you can see how long we've been going. We're having some fun day, brother. Hell yeah, good time, man. It's a good time out here.
It's all about having the fun, man. That's what it's all about.
Sir. Yes, sir. All right, you got to know who Trevor Bauer is, and you're a very opinionated guy. So this is a great question for you. Why do
he
you
brought
think
it on himself?
It's the same. Everybody says the same thing.
He brought on himself, man. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind he's getting fucked. Not a doubt in my mind. But Trevor, there's a reason they don't want you in those clubhouse anymore, because it's all about your antics and shit that you've pulled over the years. And now you did this. Yeah, you weren't guilty. We know you're not guilty. But the problem is nobody wants that in their clubhouse. Nobody wants that in there anymore. You brought this up among yourself. Yes, you're getting screwed, no doubt about it. But hey, brother, I tell you, at the end of the day, you brought it on yourself.
That's what everybody says. Exactly. All right, we got a quip. Mustang says, Tommy Lasorda and the swimming story. Did he ever tell it to you?
The swimming story? No. The only thing I know about Tommy Lasorda is his hitting videos.
I always
they weren't hitting videos. He used to tell people to come over to his place or room or whatever to watch hitting videos. He's watching porn. That was Tommy. I never went for any of his hitting videos. Never did.
What was it Miller Lite? I think he was one of the beer commercials I remember him from. I remember in the one of the Olympic teams that they use a manager or something like that.
I don't remember. I know he used to do the Slim Fast thing way back when. That was the only thing I remember was Slim Fast with him.
All right, now you were over there. Were you over in? Had you left yet before the Olympics started? The Winter Games in Nagano. Were you there for those games?
Yeah, I was gone. I came back. 98 was my last year over there.
Okay. So you were back over. Did you ever like pick up a little Japanese there? How fluent did you get?
I spoke pretty decent English or Japanese for a little bit. You know, the thing with when you go over there as a ball player, I had 2 interpreters on my team, and they were there for the gaijin. And so we'd go on the road. I didn't have to speak. I mean, after a couple of years, I told my interpreter, it was Kenji. His name was Kenji. He actually played junior or JUCO ball in the States. I'd tell Kenji, lose me. Go do your thing. I don't want you around. You know, the thing about Japan is, first of all, like Tokyo, pretty much everybody in Tokyo speaks English. It's, you got all the foreigners in there, and almost every place you go. If I'm going to order dinner anywhere, I don't need to don't need how to speak English, because all their menus are pictures, or when you walk in, they have it all in display as wax. And so everything on the menu already. Everything on the menu over there is a picture. Everything. I don't care where you go, it is. And so you just point it to it. I want that. I want this. I learned decent Japanese though, but I lost it all. I used to, like I said, I moved to California, sight unseen on the golf course, and it was owned by the Japanese, and they were in Tokyo, and so they got a lot of Japanese clientele to come to the golf course when I was playing there. So every once in a while, I'd sit and listen to them and how they bitch and moan about the Americans and what they're doing on the golf course and stuff. And I'd say some shit back to them once in a while, and they'd yeah.
That's great, man.
It's easier to understand than it is to speak. Put it that way.
Okay. All right, I got a couple silly questions for you, then we'll get you out of here. What do you think? Or what dishwashing detergent do you use?
The cheapest one I can get off Amazon.
Okay, so you don't.
I just got one yesterday. I had it sent to the house. Okay. I use the Amazon brand.
All right. What is your favorite?
Where would that come from?
Oh, I just always close the show with some silly questions.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah, these are all off the wall bullshit. What is your favorite airline you have been on, and do you have a least favorite airline?
Favorite airlines, probably Hawaiian Airlines. They're just so they're part Asian for the most part, and so their service is just unbelievable on Hawaiian Airlines. Alaskan's pretty good too. I've had some bad experiences, but nothing terrible. The bad experience is always who I was sitting next to mainly.
All
You know,
right.
it wasn't the airline's fault for anything. I remember one time whoa, dropped my earbud here. I remember one time I'm flying across the country and I'm so tired, man. I can't wait to hope. And it's hard for me to fall asleep on an airplane to begin with. And I had an aisle seat and I sit down and this lady sitting next to me and she's wearing cut off shirt, you know, like a muscle shirt. And she was a bigger lady. She was a bigger lady. I'm gonna lie, she's a bigger lady. She could use Ozempic, probably on it today. But anyway, I was just, oh man, I was so beat and tired. She lifts her arm up in the air like this and exposes this here. I swear to God, I almost threw up. The plane just took off. I mean, it just got in the air and she did this. I got up, unbuckled, and I ran back to the back of that air. And I was close to it. I was like maybe two seats back from first class. So I had to run all the way back, and everybody's looking at me like, what the hell? I get all the way back, and I tell the stewardesses there, I think there's a steward and two stewardesses back there. I said, guys, I'm sorry. I said, I'm sitting next to a lady right now. She stinks so fucking bad, I can't tell you. They go, you know what they said to me? We know where she's sitting. We know exactly what you're talking about. I said, I'm not going back. They said, you can sit here in the jumper the whole flight, but once we go to land, you got to go back up there. I said, deal. I can do that.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie, Kip. What you're saying about the book is so fucking true. This is great, man. And like, let me tell you again. Once you do, I'm gonna motivate you. I'll DM you every 6 months. Hey, you got on the book. You got on the book. So once you get the book written, we're gonna have you on again.
Well,
Because
here's the story. Here's the story. I stopped it. I stopped doing it, even though she flaked on me. I've got it all. It's all on tape. Everything is her and me talking back and forth and telling all the stories I have and what have you. But I decided I'm going to wait till my dad passes away because he's a lot of the book and it's not good.
okay, okay.
Yeah, I decided. You know what? He doesn't need to hear this shit. You know, even though he was a terrible, terrible dad, I don't need to do that to him.
All right, I feel it. I feel it. All right. Let's see here. Have you ever been in a Ferrari? What about a Lamborghini? And do you have a favorite car?
I was in a Ferrari a couple times. A few years back, I actually flew into Long Beach when I would just moved to Arizona, and this girl wanted to go out on a date with me on New Year's Eve, and she owned a Ferrari. And she picks me up at the airport in the Ferrari, and she took me back in the Ferrari, and for a day and a half, we drove around her Ferrari. And she's getting married, by the way. She just got engaged not long ago. I've never seen her in Newport, but I know where she's at all the time. Good lady. Just wasn't for me.
Dude, Phoenix Airport makes me laugh. Back in '07, I'll have to show you a picture one day. Remind me. There was this Air Force bus. I had driven the bus like on base a little bit, but I hadn't really driven out in the wild. Have you ever been to Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport? Terminal 2 has this, you leave
Tons of
like
time.
this, and there's a sharp right, right? So I have this giant, it's about a little bit shorter than a Greyhound bus, 45 passenger bus. And I'm about 100 feet from the terminal. We put all these fucking Wisconsin Army Guard guys in this bus, right? I go this way, and I go to cut to turn the right turn, and scrape the whole fucking back panel of the bus. I'm not even 200 yards from the thing. These guys just landed in Phoenix, bro. And my job was to get them to the thing. We fucking pounded out one of my buddies, the master sergeant, pounded out the little panel right there, and he drove it off. And the other guy drove back, and I had to end up watching some Army safety videos. And the funny thing was, Kip, they didn't like tell me what videos I had to watch. So I just like put in a DVD and just watched it and said au revoir. It was for amount of damage I did, it was shockingly little punishment in my opinion. Like, I mean, I probably should have had my license taken for that, honestly, but hey, it is what it is, man. It was 2007 was a different time, brother. All
Yes,
right,
it
now
was.
now you're a Hawaii guy, it sounds like, but have you ever been to the Caribbean, and what do you think about the Virgin Islands?
I went on my honeymoon with my late wife to the Caribbean, and we went on a boat. I can't remember what the ship was called. It was a cool ship. There's only like 75 passengers on it, and I think the crew to passenger was two to one. And I can't come to me right now what the name was. It was an actual sailboat, and they actually put the sail up one night when we were going from island to island. And God, I guarantee if you Google it, you'll find out what it is. But it was so cool. But yeah, I've been to all the islands on Caribbean, that down there for the most part. It was good stuff.
I
Good
love it.
weather, everything, just all that good stuff. I wouldn't want to go on another really cruise ship though.
Yeah, I'm not. I can't. People are always
Once you're
telling
on,
me,
you can't get off.
exactly, dude. And I mean, I'm a weed smoker. It's no secret, and so I don't like to, You know, you can't smoke on weed on a cruise ship as far as I know. And it's like I don't like the way they do entertainment, dude. I'm not a like the stuff that a lot of people like for entertainment, like, oh, here, up next is, Bobby Williams, the funny cruise ship comedian. He does all the hack jokes that I've heard 8 billion times. I'm done with that. I don't want to hear that. And I don't want to hear the fucking, the Jam 80s or 90s band that does the greatest hits and people are doing the same fucking 18 dances I always see at the damn bar. I know. I want to go up and fucking sit on the beach and smoke some weed and just stare off the fucking moon and be high. I'm not trying to do another stupid shit, kid. Nope. That's why if you ever guys ever wonder why you see Joey Elbows on a cruise ship, that's fucking why. Because I'm done with that kind of entertainment, right? Fucking hell. All right. In your opinion, who are the 3 most famous people you've ever met in your life?
3 most famous people I've ever met in my life. Oh my God. Oh, well, Charlie Sheen. I'm sure most people around the world know who Charlie Sheen is. I spent about 2 hours with Kobe Bryant one time in Japan, just him and I.
Oh wow!
It was it was a crazy meeting him and I had. It was the third one. Oh man, I don't Billy Idol. Shit, I don't know. I've met a lot of famous people. I would love to meet Trump someday. He's by far the most famous person on the planet. It's not even close. I'd love to meet him someday.
Yeah, if you look at his Q rating, it's through the roof.
Yeah, but the Charlie Sheen, that was pretty cool. The Kobe Bryant thing, I was in Japan playing, and I did the last couple years they didn't make me travel on the road unless I was pitching. So I would get on a bullet train or an airplane and I'd go fly in for the night before, then I'd pitch, whatever. So I would always get my workout. I never missed my workouts. They trusted me big time. And so I'd go down, it was called the American Club in Tokyo. And they had a weight room in there and you could go, we were members of it. It just didn't have a golf course, basically a country club without a golf course. And so went down there at night to work out in the weight room. And I was the only person in there. Most nights I was the only guy in there when I went in there. And sure as hell, next thing you know, Kobe Bryant walks in. He's doing an exhibition in town. I think it was his second year in the NBA. And neither one of us lifted a thing the rest of the time. We talked for probably a little over 2 hours. And he was really raw. Some of the things, he was telling me, he really wanted to know about the girls in Tokyo and stuff like that, what was going on and blah, blah, blah. And I got a pretty good idea who Kobe was that night we talked and everything. And so when he had that deal in Colorado with that hotel and that girl that worked hotel, I knew right away he did it. There was not a doubt in my mind. You know what? I blame him, but at the same time, here's my thought on that. And don't get me wrong, Kobe Bryant reformed himself hugely after that. I mean, huge. I mean, he completely turned his life around and look what he did with his life besides a helicopter. But one thing I always thought about what Kobe Bryant walked into. First of all, he went to the NBA right out of high school. Right out of high school. Okay?
17 years old, yep.
17 years old. And look who his teammates were. Look at his teammates. Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Worthy, blah, blah, blah. All these guys were 10-year plus veterans of the NBA, all of them. And what do you think all those black guys did at nighttime? What do you think they did?
Oh, yeah.
They went whoring around. And, that's what I mean, black guys are known for whoring around anyway. It doesn't matter. I'm not saying nothing different that anybody doesn't know anymore. And so I had a feeling that they taught him a little bit of how you should be in the NBA and what you can and cannot do there. And so I'm not blaming them. I'm blaming Kobe Bryant, but at the same time, I'm saying I think he learned a lot of this at a young age, what he can and cannot do. And at that level, it's another level. It's another huge, huge level. I think you understand what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, we was talking about that earlier with the why baseball different than basketball. I mean, these guys entitled their whole. I hate to use the word entitled, but I mean, you can see it in the NBA is a great example. Like I take a guy like LeBron for example. I'm here in Cleveland. We heard about LeBron from when he was a freshman. His mom, Gloria James, she's still around. I was about to say God bless her soul. She's still around. But dude, she used to go. She would have a picture. Pretend this weed package is a picture of LeBron. She used to walk around with the picture of LeBron's head and go, "Ha, this is my son." She was see you next Tuesday, as they say, Kip. She was not a nice lady, and what do you
Well, they
think that
bought her a
does?
new house. They got her a new car
Yeah.
while he's in high school.
Mm-hmm. And then Rich Paul and all those guys from day one. What do you think they were doing to that guy? Like, he was a
Yeah.
freshman in high school. Remember when you got that scandal because he got that Hummer for it was like $1 lease or whatever, $50,000
Well, that was for his
Hummer they gave
mom,
to
wasn't
him.
it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right to his mom. Crazy
Yeah.
out there, man. Different world in basketball, but baseball, you're out here paying your dues. You got to go play in Spokane, Washington for 2 years before you get to the Hall, man.
And don't get me wrong, guys. Whoever's listening to this right now, white guys whore around too. Don't get me wrong, but it's a little different in the NBA than it is in baseball and all these other sports a little bit because you only have what 12 guys on a roster, something like that.
Yep.
And so for the most part, the NBA is what probably 80% black. And so I'm just saying, I think Kobe learned some things he probably shouldn't have learned early in his career because of who he was with, and that's one. I mean, Magic Johnson, for God's sake, we know what he did. He's got AIDS. And so, he learned from these guys. And so, but Kobe was great, man. We had a great time it was 2+ hours. We talked about all kinds of stuff. One thing he asked me about, because I told him why I went to Japan because of the strike. And I said, dude, if there's one thing you can do is get to be a player's rep and don't have a strike. I said, it screws everything up for everybody. I said, we've been through it here. It's happened numerous times in Major League Baseball. Don't do it, man. Just avoid it at all costs. Figure it out, and so you can play on day one and in the last day of the season. Not having an NBA championship like they didn't have a World Series one year is not good.
Oh, right. Oh, that was horrible. That was my senior year of high school that year, I think. 94,
Wow.
95.
Yeah.
And then because the tribe was man, I wish they would bring back the name, dude. I'm not gonna.
I still call them the Indians. I still call them the Washington Redskins. I'm not going to change.
I do, and it's I'm going to give, and it really drove me away from the game for a while. Kept it there, but I mean, I had so many baseball players recently that I'm going to really get back into it because it's I got to get out of the fucking house. This winter's been horrible, and I need something to do in the summer besides fucking twiddle my thumbs and look at a goddamn computer screen, and air conditioning. So baseball is where it's at, but I'm gonna have to figure out a way to bury the hatchet. Maybe I'll just still wear my Indian stuff. Fuck it, who knows? Who even cares? All right, Beatles or Queen? Who would you pick out of those two bands?
You know what? I would probably say Queen, but I was not a fan of that movie that came out. That wasn't the Queen movie. That was another movie. Actually, the Queen movie was really, really good. That guy, I think he was better than Freddie Mercury was in the movie. You know what? One thing that people don't realize about the Beatles, they were only together 9 years.
Yeah,
there was a very short stint, but everything they did was just off the charts, literally off the charts. But yeah, both. I listen to both.
for sure. All right. What is one thing you haven't done yet you are sure you're going to do by the time you're 70? And what is your advice for your future self?
One regret I have is I never did get in the military. That's one of my biggest regrets. But like I said, once I got done, you asked me earlier, I should have answered the question, which I now remember the question you asked me earlier. It was when I came out of high school, I had two choices basically. I had three choices basically. And they were all third here. One was I could go to Nebraska and try out for the team, which was really stupid in the first place. Why would a guy that never even got looked at go try out for a team that's top 10 in the country? That was dumb as hell in my part, but it worked out. Military was on my mind, joining the military out of high school. Or the third one was back then I worked at a nursery, horticulture, and the owner, Jim Newworth, at the time, he told me that if I don't go to school or if I don't go to the military, he wants to pay for my schooling to go run his nurseries because he wanted to build a couple more. So he wanted me to be a manager of his nurseries. So those are my three choices coming out of high school.
Okay.
So I must have been a pretty intelligent guy or something. I don't know, because these people all trusted me for whatever reason. So but I do regret the military. But like I said, once I got out of once there's somebody here. I'm good. Yeah, I'm on a Zoom or a YouTube right now. The what? She came and got him earlier to take him to the vet. Yeah, perfect. You got it. Tomorrow morning. That'd be perfect. Yeah. Thanks, man. Have a good one. Good seeing you. So the military thing was, I played for 16 years professionally. And my last year, I had my son who was 1 years old, not even 1 years old when we, well, he was a little over 1 years old. And I just wasn't going to leave my family to go in the military at that time. I just wasn't going to do it. But it's a regret every time I see that flag and, see anything on TV, a military or in a Facebook or anything. I think of the same thing. God, I wish I'd have done that. I wish, at least get 2 years in,
Right, right.
but I just never did it. I never did. And my father-in-law, my late wife's dad, he was a two-star general in the
Okay.
Army. And I got a really good buddy. He's a two-star general in the Air Force. And I've got several other buddies that were pretty high in the Air Force also. So
Okay. All right.
when I was in Japan, I used to take care of that military like nobody's business over there at Okinawa and up at Yokota Air Base. I used to give them tickets every time I pitched, man. I'd leave them probably 30 to 60 tickets. Uh, I actually Japan. I had it pretty wired actually because I met a guy over there from Nebraska where I grew up, and he was in the military over there, and so he started hooking me up with a guy that would actually bring me groceries from the commissary.
Oh,
We
nice.
we'd put a list out because in Japan, man, it was expensive.
Yeah.
I
It's,
mean, it was expensive. I mean, I was getting steaks. I was literally getting T-bone steaks and ribeyes for like $2 for a steak over there. Because after 2 days in the military, they have to put them half price automatically after 2 days, and they wouldn't even get them until they were 2 days for me. And I'm like, guys, you can bring them. It's okay. I'll take it. But no, he would. So they actually got me a freezer, a full size stand up freezer. I had a full size barbecue outside. Uh, I think at any given time, I probably had 30 to 40 cases of Bud Light in my storage room. Just anything and everything. Now that same steak, though, one block down the street at the grocery store was hundred something dollars. That's what
that's
I'm saying.
crazy.
I started hooking up other players in Japan with his sponsors. I'd get them, I'd sponsor, but I always told these guys the minimum, very minimum, you're going to tip these guys a third of what the groceries cost. A third. I double it every time. Whatever the cost, here it is. Whatever it is, I double it right here. Here's your tip. And
Right.
some of these guys, they were chintzy. They didn't want to do it. I said, guys, I'll cut you off. I will cut you off. And I promise you, it'll be me. I'll cut you off if you don't tip these guys properly. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I
Yes,
ended, I
sir.
ended up giving my car to the buddy that was my sponsor over there. I ended up giving my car. And another quick story. Uh, he called me one day. There was one Harley Davidson left in the country. It was a fat boy, and he always knew I wanted to ride a Harley. And so he calls me and says, "Hey, Kip," he goes, "There's one Harley left." I said, "What's the deal on it?" He said, "Well, it's one left. It's purple, and it's a fat boy." I said, "I'll buy it. I'll take it." He had to he had to take a jumper from Japan all the way to Seattle to get that bike. First of all, because they have to sign the papers, right? And then from there, he had to take a jumper to Moreno Valley, which is right down the street from where I'm at right now, to get the bike delivered to Moreno Valley where I was living at the time. Came in a big box, took it out, brand new, the whole gig, right? But it was all in his name. I think I spent like $13,000 for that bike, if I remember right. It was in '98 when I got it, my last year over there. I rode that bike for 100 miles. I got it to 100 miles. I said, I'm done. I'm not riding this bike anymore. So I told my wife at the time, I said, hey, when Hubie gets his 20, because he was a lifer, when he gets his 20 in, he's going to retire and I'll give him that bike. And so it's 22 years later. Then he moved to Vegas and I called him. I said, dude, are you ever going to retire? He said, well, not yet, blah, blah, whatever. I said, you need to come down here, man. You need to come down here. You're the only person. I need you to come down to the house. Get a day off or two, whatever. Come on down. So I had a party at the house during the off season. I had a party at the house and Hubie was there. Rick Hubeck's his name. Huey's his name. And about halfway through the party, I had the kids outside. They polished it up, washed it, polished it all up. I said, Huey, let's all go outside. I want to show you something. I'm almost getting a little emotional right now. So I take him outside, and here's this bike sitting there, the one he got. And I said, what do you think? He goes, man, you got a cool bike. It really is cool. I said, that's not my bike, Hubie. He goes, whose bike is it? I said, it's your bike. I said, I still haven't taken the title out of your name. It's your bike. You can take it back to Vegas with you. He just sat there and like, I don't know what to say. I have no idea what to say. But I can't even tell you what he did for me and my family when we were in Japan. It was everything. When you're over there, I told everybody that comes over, I said, one thing you got to do when you're in Japan is make sure your family's happy first. You know, and they're not going to be happy going down the store and spending $600, $700, $800 for a week's groceries. It's just not going to happen when I can get you the same thing for a third of the price or a tenth of the price, whatever, you know. In Japan, when I was there, every beer you picked up was $7. Didn't matter. A can of beer was $7. I'm getting a case for $3 and $5 over there. And so I got, you know, players coming over, you know, they'd come to town because Tokyo, there was quite a few teams in Tokyo. So different teams, they'd come over to my house and we barbecue, whatever, after the games. And it was just, here, take a couple cases of beer back with you on the train if you have to, whatever you got to do. And so we would do those things. And as I said, take care of the people that take care of you, you know. And so I gave him my car too. I think I spent like $3,000 for that car when I was over there, but it was a good Mazda family. It was a good car.
Well,
But the
also,
bike is,
dude,
Hubie still rides that bike today.
Well, you can't drive the car back here in the States because don't they drive the road over there? So yeah, you had to dump
No,
it.
but the bike was here. He had it shipped here. I had my Harley Davidson, or no, I'm sorry, my Kawasaki shipped to Japan so I could ride it over there.
Okay.
Because I always had a 1500 Kawasaki.
It was funny. You were just talking about when you was back in 01, how you had the baby and you didn't want to leave. It may be a story when I got back from the desert, man. It was 2011 because I went in 2011 because the kids were like really young. Jimmy was like, he's my 15-year-old now, and Nikki's my 16-year-old. And Jimmy was like 8 months, and Nikki was like not even a year. And so it's like, if we're gonna get to do it now, you know, get some money because it's tax free over there in the combat zone. You don't have to pay any taxes. So I was like, fuck it, let's do it. And I get back, right, Kip, and I go to pick up Jimmy, and he pulled away for a little bit. Like there was a half a second where he didn't recognize me. And dude, I always remember that. I was like, this is the last time I'm doing anything. And I retired 4 years later. I only went on like one more 2-week trip. That was about it. I didn't do shit. I did my, 1 week in a month, but like I did no extended trips after that. That's something you never forget, brother. Fucking hell. Yes, sir. All right. We'd like to thank Mr. Kip Gross for coming out. One of the best interviews in a long time, my friend. It was an honor.
Well, that 40 minutes turned into 2 hours and 16 minutes, if I'm reading that right.
Right. Yeah, you're the second longest interview we've had now. Buff Bagwell was the longest. He was 2 hours and 45 minutes, but he had all kinds of drug issues. That was before he got his leg cut off.
Who?
Buff Bagwell. He was a wrestler. He used to wear.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Jeff Bagwell.
No. Buff Bagwell. Yeah, Buff Bagwell.
I got you. Okay. I played with Baggy.
All right, for sure. All right, thanks, man.
Cool. Have a great one, guys. Enjoyed it.
All right, we'll talk to you guys later.
You got it.